call the meeting to order. All right, so welcome to the virtual board of direction or virtual board of directors meeting 2. So we're going to start out in our typical fashion. Ralph Reese, are you on the call? Will you please lead us in our flag salute?
Absolutely. You guys have a flag that's near your window or in your office, please face it. If you can take your right hand, place it over your heart. For those of you that are veterans or military, you may salute. Please recite the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance
to
the
flag
United
of
States
the United States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome. Play ball, right? Thank you, Ralph. If you will please bow your heads. Travis Mickel, if you will lead us in our
Dear Heavenly Father, as we come before you this morning, we want to start just by saying thank you. Thank you for this industry that is designed around helping others. Thank you for being able to stay employed even in these unprecedented, difficult times. Thank you for providing us an opportunity to truly make a difference in the world around us. We recognize that there's some major issues in our world today, and we ask a special prayer of healing for all those that are sick and hurting, for those that are unable to work, for those that may have lost a loved one, and just for anyone that may be struggling. Finally, we ask a special prayer blessing for our nation, for our leaders, for those doing the difficult job of keeping us safe, for this association and its leaders, and for each other, that we may all of your love and grace, and that remembering your example, we might be inspired to show love and grace to others. In Jesus' name, amen.
Awesome job, Travis. Thank you. I'll turn the meeting over to Chris Reardon for our roll call.
Good morning. Welcome. I'd like to begin roll call. President Mike McKenzie.
Here.
President-elect Tom Graston.
Here.
Treasurer Dean Wiley.
Here.
Second Vice President Greg Augustine.
Here.
Third Vice President Mary Hernandez.
Here.
Secretary Dave Watkins.
Here.
And affiliate representative Sylvia Kimmer.
Here.
What I'd like to do too now as we get into the different districts versus just reading names, I'm going to ask those who are here from the particular district to say that they're here. Okay? So, Bay Area District.
Here.
Who is here? Yeah, look, please, folks, say your name and then indicate that you are here. Bay Area District.
Hey, Chris, I think that was Edgar Serpis, Alan Kennedy here.
Okay, thank you. Big Valley District.
Travis Mickel here.
Debbie Scott here.
Adam Holt here.
Debbie Scott here.
Vince Scoville here.
Richard Keene here.
Carl Justice here.
Central Valley.
Carl Justice is here.
Central Valley.
David Oxley here.
Leslie Newlick's here.
Diablo Valley. LA South Bay District.
Delia Shockey.
Jim Shockey.
Greg Bausch.
Larry Trelevin.
Andy Moreno.
Cindy Zemke.
Mid-Cal District.
She said Andy, didn't she?
Ray Carrier, present.
Ed Paulson here.
Darren Van Steenwyk here.
Monterey Bay Area District.
Michael Reed here.
Tammy Stupridge here.
Orange County District.
Ryan Prechtel's here.
Brad
Ralph.
Roseville here.
Ralph Reese is here.
Coachella District, no. San Bernardino Riverside.
Rob Willis here.
Christine Cornejo here.
Bernie Gonzalez here.
Jay Jones here.
Ryan Pena is trying to check in.
Ryan Pena's here.
And Brian Swanston's trying to log in.
Okay. San Diego District.
Jeff Mudd here.
San Diego District.
Jeff Mudd said he was here.
San Fernando Valley District.
Raymond Baker here.
San Gabriel District. Central Coast District.
Dave Watkins.
Mary Hernandez.
Santa Clara Valley District.
Janet Thrasher here. I saw Rick Clark.
Shasta District.
Jackie Clark here.
Vintage Coastal District.
Larry and Barbara Shork here.
Ventura District.
Rudy Ayala here.
Okay, thank you. Now, past presidents. Jim Steed.
Here.
Mike Bullert. Robert Baker. Lee Whitmore.
Here.
Joe Gatto.
Here.
Billy Gaither. Is there any other past presidents that I'm missing?
Steve Scoville.
Thanks, Steve. Any other past presidents?
Travis Swope.
Okay, that will do roll call.
All right, Chris, I'll ask you to continue with the reading of the executive committee meeting minutes.
You want louder?
Find those bad boys. Okay, our meeting was called to order yesterday by Mike McKenzie at 8:32. Roll call. Everyone was in attendance. Approval of minutes from the April meeting. Motion made by Mary Hernandez, seconded by Dean Wiley. President's report. Mike McKenzie talked about the virtual district meetings that we participated in over the last few months. Spoke about how our year began and sort of where we are today. And Mike will also be discussing at the board meeting about sort of a little bit more in detail about kind of where we were and where we are today. So Treasurer's report, Dean Wiley presented the President's report. Greg Augustine did the update on PCOC, PCOC Cares, Dean Wiley, PAPCO, Chris Reardon. We also had talked about budget report with Tom Graston, his budget that he'll be presenting today. Executive Vice President's report, we talked a little bit about, and I'll talk about that today as well, about sort of where we were during the COVID operation. I'll also talk later today about the whole issue of borrowing monies. We also talked about sort of where we are and related to new members and membership generally and the qualification of members going forward. Membership Mike McKenzie talked about where our members are today. Karen Grenz continues to do a terrific job for us. And so under a very challenging time, under new business, we talked about our PCOC, a potential for an online store to purchase shirts, hats, etc. We also talked about potential of a silent auction at our September event, sort of scaled down virtually. Also the Zoom meetings, what it might look like moving forward. We also talked about, assuming COVID is going to be with us for the next 6 to 8, 9 months, what it means for us. We adjourned the meeting at 12:43. Motion was made by Mary Hernandez, second by Dean Wiley. That concludes our executive committee minutes.
All right, thank you, Chris. So within the board packets, there was the board of directors meeting minutes from the last meeting. So having a chance, or having had them for a week, I would seek a motion from somebody to approve the previous board of director meeting minutes.
Mike, this is Larry Treelevin, and I move that we accept those minutes as circulated.
Thank you, Larry. Is there a second?
Ray Carrier, second.
Second.
Ray Carrier, I heard you. So Ray Carrier, second. Is there any discussion regarding the meeting minutes from our last board of directors? Hearing none. I think we can do a voice vote here. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Or thumbs up. Yeah, thank you, Nicole. I saw that. Any opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. So into the president's report. So I gotta start with, I can't believe it's already been a year. It seems like last week, to me, that we were in Carlsbad and my year was truly ramping up. As you all know, in the past few months, Chris and I have been fortunate enough to virtually attend 3 district meetings. We attended the Shasta district on May 5th, San Diego district June 9th, and Orange County district on June 11th. Beyond that, Chris, myself, Tom, and the executive committee have been working feverishly behind the scenes. So there's been several virtual meetings really to continue our business. We've had meetings with district chairs. We've had meetings with our financial advisory committee. We've had meetings with each other and all sorts of different meetings. So there's been a lot happening behind the scenes in the past really 90 days since we last spoke. I'll go on to say this year has been an absolute roller coaster. And I've began to call this fiscal year, or this PCOC year, as the tale of 2 halves. So in the first half, the year started off in a challenging posture. Our association was about $200,000, a little over $200,000 in the red. We had pressing legislation and a lot of potential changes looming. Based on the hole that we were in, your PCOC staff and your executive committee tightened the expenditures and proposed some financial changes. A lot of them were communicated, meaning our changes to our event pricing, our potential new due structure, and all of the different things that we were looking at beyond our cost-cutting methods. So in addition to these changes, we decided to enhance our events. What I mean by that is we added to our event portfolio with things like Termite Academy and really focusing in on pest ed and the different things that have happened throughout the year. So as the year turned to 2020, we were actually back into a positive stance financially. January and February were really shaping up the remainder of my presidency. Our events were selling out. Our Ledge Day was looking strong. Our expo exhibitors were sold out. And keep in mind, this is February. So our course was set and we were coming into our event season. So I want to kind of get into the numbers a little bit. Our Ledge Days typically bring this association about $45,000 in income with an expense of $30,000. So that's an average of about $15,000 in operating capital. Our expo typically brings in about 160 to 180,000 with a cost of roughly 100 to 120, netting us about $40,000 in operating capital. So with the exhibit hall sold out and the standard amount of attendees that we would usually get, not forecasting a sellout or a great amount of people coming, just the standard, our financial rebound was there. Our course was set for 2021. We would have gotten out of the hole that we were in. So you may be asking yourself, like, why is Mike sharing all of these numbers? Like, what does it really matter? And here's what I want to say. There's been a lot of scrutiny over some of the proposed actions that have been set in motion in the past 120 days since COVID began. So as an industry, association, and society, we've been forced into a new uncertain normal. Our association leadership core has been faced with making strategic decisions regarding our association financials, industry welfare, and many other significant topics that impact all of us. So I want to assure you, we don't take this responsibility lightly as the leadership of PCOC. What remains to be our focus, our primary focus, is our members' sustainability and our association sustainability. Many of our businesses are challenged in this new normal. Our branch 1 and 3 members are working to endure the storm. I don't include branch 2 because everybody had the 1 month blip, or a lot of us had the 1 month blip, and then our business rebounded. So while our businesses are beginning to ramp back up, we continue to face uncertainty. The number of COVID cases within our state continues to rise, as everybody's seeing. And are we going back into quarantine this year is the question that a lot of people are asking. How will this industry and association survive? These specific points are the main reason that we're pursuing a loan or a line of credit that was previously approved by this board of directors. Now, in the past few months, we've heard a lot of feedback from our districts and some of our membership and a fair amount of members that are not in support of us getting a loan or a line of credit. So our financial reserves were extremely low in the years past, from an average of $25,000 to $50,000 at the high end going back several years. No person could have forecasted the impact of COVID, and no person could have forecasted the impact that it would have. So while our financials may look healthy when Dean reports them today, at the moment, we're not as healthy as the financial report states. I want you to think into the future. We're building an expo style event for September if we're allowed to meet. What if we can't host live events for the foreseeable future? I share this because a fair amount of our PCOC account is monies collected from our affiliates. And that meaning when Dean reports today, you're going to see money in the account, but a lot of it is from Expo and from our affiliates securing their space for the exhibit hall. We have not spent this money, and nor do we plan to, unless we have a live event or consent from the vendor that their monies can be utilized to sponsor future endeavors. So by now, a lot of you are probably thinking, hey, what is all this about, or what is Mike talking about? And I have some questions or concerns about the loan and or the line of credit. So I would love to hear from the floor. I'm going to open the call up, and I'd like to field any concerns or questions that you may have regarding what's happening with our loan or line of credit. So is there anybody that has questions or comments that they'd like to share?
Mike, Larry Short here.
Hey, Larry.
My question is, have we looked at the possibility of doing something with our offshore account instead of getting a loan on the building?
Absolutely. Great question, man. That was one of the options that we were looking at, was keeping it in-house, utilizing our offshore account. And I think what you're going to hear from Lee today, I know what you're going to hear from Lee today is a lot of the liabilities that we have that are currently hitting us would remove the liquidity of that sort of account. So we've really worked with PCOC and their group, and we found that it wouldn't really be feasible at this time, but it has been explored. Thank you for that. Any other comments? I'd love to hear from you guys.
Hi, Mike. This is Lee.
Hey, Lee.
Hey, Mike. How's it going?
Good.
I get the picture. You know, at the last meeting, you know, I think, you know, it would have been great to have that topic on the agenda, you know, or at least announced during new business, you know, and then covered, you know, as a point of order. I didn't think that was done exactly right. But, you know, I know right now you guys are working on the line of credit approach, and I hope we're able to get that done, because I know that question came up. I think Larry Treelevin brought it up as a suggestion, and the response is that the rate was, you know, cheaper to get the $400,000 loan than to do a line of credit. But I think that's flawed thinking, because we're going to pay closing costs if we get the loan, you know, which are avoidable, and also we're going to pay interest on the entire sum over, you know, over the life of that loan, rather than paying a bit of a higher interest rate on a lesser amount, you know, if we're able to get a line of credit and just use it as needed. That seems like a much more fiscally responsible approach, and something all of our businesses do too. I mean, you know, all of us have that same need, you know, for cash flow. We set up lines of credit and address, you know, cash flow issues in that format. So that seems like, you know, I don't think we had that full conversation, and in my opinion, I think that's a way better way to go.
Thank you for that, Lee. I appreciate that. Great insight. That's important. And I mean, and I'm not really trying to justify or anything what happened, but we were all running very quickly as we all reacted to this. And then we started to come down as we formed the financial advisory committee, and as we made certain moves and put more heads together rather than just a few, our reactions started to change and things started to calm. So with that being said, cooler heads prevail, and we've started to move a slightly different direction with what's available to us. So thank you for the insight, Lee. Any other comments or thoughts? I'd love, again, I keep saying I'd love to hear from you. I want to get this all out on the table.
Mike, this is Chris.
Chris.
Just so, and this is sort of a discussion just based on what Lee just described. And I think folks should understand too, as it relates, and I'll talk a little bit greater detail during my conversation with you, but it's a challenging environment related to the banking interests as we speak. So they also have protections related to COVID in terms of borrowing money. For us, the line of credit, because we're not highly capitalized as an association, it's been a tricky dance working with the banking industry to provide, you know, monies against our property. So I give you that heads up because I think right now the way it looks is line of credit might be our only option, to be candid with you, in terms of just the straight borrowing against our property.
Thanks, Chris.
Hey, Mike, this is Green Tree 11. And the reason that I recommended that we use the line of credit at our last meeting that Lee brought up this morning is that there's long-term money and short-term money needs. And I'm hoping that this is going to be a short-term money need. And that's why I recommended the credit, the line of credit, rather than refinancing the building.
Yeah, great point, Larry. Thank you for that. We are all hoping that it's going to be a short-term need, right? Without a doubt. Any other thoughts or comments?
Hi, Rudy from Ventura District. I had a question about expenses. Have we done anything to kind of pare down expenses in response to this? That seems like something that we can also do to kind of limit our exposure to risk.
Yeah, great question. And absolutely. So Some of our staff has reduced their hours or their time, which obviously reduces pay. We've become a lot more cost sensitive or cost conscious when we're purchasing, not that we weren't before, but even more sensitive. Beyond that, the executive committee, and I hope I'm not stealing Tom's thunder for later, but the executive committee has agreed to, in the future events, if we're doing live events, PCOC for the short term, obviously in the short term time, each executive committee member will be paying for their own hotel rooms and paying for their own travel. So that will also reduce expenses. So we are absolutely considering and looking at cost cutting measures and across the board. So if it's not essential right now, I can say we're not doing it. Now, on the flip side of that, we're also exploring revenue generation opportunities. And so we're going to talk about that in a few moments as well. But, great question, Rudy. I mean, every one of our businesses is exploring the same thing, and was exploring. How do we cut costs? Do we reduce staff? Do we save here? Where do we save? And absolutely, that's been happening at this association as well.
Hey, Mike, can I add something as well?
Yeah. Please.
So we formed a financial advisory committee, which is a committee of past presidents, myself, Chris, and Mike, who's about to be a past president. And basically, we're reviewing our spending. We're looking at every way that we could be more cost effective in moving forward. And I believe this is going to be setting the trend for how we move forward as an association. So not only are we looking at ways to raise money and we're looking at different events, we're looking to make everything as cost effective as possible.
Thank you, Tom. Y'all have a lot of video and cameras going there. That's why it has that feedback. Is there any other comments, questions, thoughts on what's been happening or where we stand?
Mike, this is going to shock you. I'd like to say something.
Yeah.
I just heard that we have past presidents on the committee that's over advising you. Tell me how long has this association been going? 40 or 50 years? Has this association been going?
Over 50 years. Yes.
Over 50? Mm-hmm. Ask me one question. Why have we never thought about a situation like this? Why have we not been saving a little money every year to handle a situation like this?
That's a great question. And I can only speak for the past, few years. I don't know that anybody on the planet was forecasting a pandemic of this nature. Beyond that, we should have a rainy day fund. I don't disagree with you. And that's something that we could have and should have built up over the years. But we, as an association, all of us neglected to do this over the years. And quite honestly, at one point it was, I think about 40,000 was the maximum we've had in that account, maybe 50. And it dwindled down to 25 over the years because we'd never seen anything like this. We'd never had something like this happen. Anybody that forecasted businesses would be shut down for 90 days. If you patented that or made it well known, you could have made $1 billion off of it, right? And so we were not prepared. Nobody was prepared. And it's a great thought. And that's something that I know Tom, and again, I'm really not trying to steal what Tom's going to talk about or anything like that. But that is a consideration that your executive committee and staff have been talking about, is how do we rebuild and how do we set ourselves up for the next time something like this happens? So once you've experienced it, you can do something about it. And that's what we need to do as an association.
Okay, answer me this question. If could this association not done a government loan through the government?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because of the categorization of our association, we were not qualified for a government loan because of the 501c6. And Chris will talk a bit about that in his commentary. They allowed certain classifications, just not our classification was not allowed within that.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I'm curious on that, why we didn't go for a loan.
Oh, trust me, it was right on the front of the mind, but we weren't part of that group.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or thoughts?
Mike, I got one more comment. Lee Whitmore again. The one thing that I would say is I think if we go back and look at the finances, for multiple years over a period of time, we'll find that the last several years we've been operating in a further hole, than previous. Obviously, the year prior to you was a huge loss year. We've never seen anything. It's reflecting at a minus $200,000, which is crazy. We've never seen anything even close to that kind of hit. And the bylaws don't allow, expenditures beyond what the budget authorizes either, and so I think it's important, that the executive committee know that. And I just don't, I keep looking at those numbers, trying to figure out how in the world, that went that deep, you know what I'm saying? So yeah. I think we got some structural challenges that you guys were working towards addressing that are, it's beyond the COVID issue, right? It's deeper than that. It's we're not bringing in enough money for what we're laying out. And so, it's probably a combination of reducing expenses and increasing income, both, so, and you can see the trends gotten worse in the most recent years. So yeah. I just wanted to kind of point that out that, things cost more today, and maybe that's what it is partially.
Yeah, and that goes back. I thank you for pointing that out, Lee, because you are dead on, right on target with that. And that's something that I know we've been talking about significantly. And that's what prompted the dues restructure potential, the event pricing, and what is our actual margins like, having the ability to ultimately say, okay, we're not trying to make a mint, we're trying to literally break even, right? That's the goal of PCOC because we're a nonprofit. So that being said, when you have these events or anything that generates income but costs you more than the income coming in, that's never a good thing. That's like all of us doing a job, and just because Lee's the one that said it, I sell a fumigation, Lee charges me $10,000 and I only charge $5,000. That just doesn't make any sense, right? Nobody's going to do that. I always kid around about Orkin, it's a red diamond, not a red cross, right? And so, but the reality behind it is we're trying to break even. And so we have not raised prices on events. We have not raised prices on most of the stuff that we do in a lot of years. And I don't think it's a monster increase that needs to happen, but I think it's a nominal increase that gets us incremental growth. And so great point. Another piece behind that, and this goes back to Mike Bullert. I don't know if he's on the call. I'm not calling him out, but I remember Mike Bullert standing in front of this group talking about we're not going to have rubber chicken anymore at Expo, right? Or convention back then. We've upgraded our events. We've upgraded what we're doing, which is at a greater cost, to Lee's point, yet we haven't changed pricing and we haven't done the things that we needed to do to offset that. We did decide to make investments into our events to make them more feasible and more viable and more attractive, not only to vendors and affiliates, but to our membership. And I think I'm not going to say it got out of line, but I think that we invested deeply into that and we didn't react with the cost structure. So, great points, Lee, well taken. And that's something that's high on the radar. Any other questions or comments? All right. Last chance. Going, and gone. All right. Well, thank you all for the feedback and the questions. I really do appreciate it. And I hope it gives everybody a better sense of what we're trying to accomplish, because as a whole, I think everybody on this call is striving for the same thing. Whether it's the association viability, your company's viability, everything that we're doing, we're all striving in the same direction. This is not an infight. This is not anybody going against each other or anything like that. As I said before, first and foremost, with all of the decisions that we're making and the decisions that we're attempting to make, the first thing we say is, okay, is this good for the association? Is this good for the membership? That's first and foremost. So with that, I'll conclude my president's report, and I'm going to turn it over to Chris Reardon for his executive vice president's report. Chris?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Let me begin kind of where we left off when I saw you all in April, and how things have changed in the last 3 months. Just imagine where we were when I talked to you in April. Boy, there was uncertainty then, there's uncertainty now, and I'd argue there's going to be uncertainty for probably the next 6 to 12 months. So wanted to walk you through a little bit of what transpired over the last 3 months. I hope to, and let me just lay this out there as well, I hope over the last 90 days on issues related to licensing, issues related to testing, issues related to probably the single most important issue, essential services, that we're an essential service industry, that we're allowed to work. Many of you probably weren't aware that when the initial list came out about who was going to be exempt, we weren't on it, at least in California. And literally over 24 hours, that changed to put exterminators on that list. And so it was on the national Homeland Security, but it wasn't in California. And so we had some help making sure that exterminators were on that list and that we could continue to work and make sure that we're continue to be an essential service. So I think that was really, really important. It sort of makes the case that we've always said for all you in this audience, you know, we protect people, property, and our food supply. And this proved it. So I wanted to thank all of you because I think during this time too, we proved who we are. And I just wanted to thank all of you for all your efforts. And by the way, because we are an essential service and because folks look to us, we were allowed to expand our sanitizer use. We were allowed, the Structural Pest Control Board worked with us to allow you to test mid-May, where most folks thought would be mid-June before we could test. It allowed us to do some things on the renewal side. So the other interesting thing about this last 3 months is most of you know, we have a pretty good relationship with a lot of our regulatory agencies. They're even better now. I would literally talk to the Department of Pesticide Regulation and or the Structural Board sometimes twice a day. Things were moving so quickly, and they were reaching out to us to figure out, hey, what do you need? How can we help you? Can we provide a waiver on a certain issue? By the way, it hasn't been perfect. We're still working on the whole issue of PPE as we speak, but it's really allowed us to cooperatively work with our regulatory partners. So that's been very, very positive. And I know I've talked to many of you about it as we early into this thing about, you know, how can we test? What are we going to do? Where am I getting PPE? All those sort of questions. As you see now, I think it's becoming clear, and a lot of it's frankly because of our regulatory friends that have been very helpful to us over the last 3 months. So I hope also you found our weekly updates helpful. We were really, you know, as I said, because we were hearing things hourly and daily, trying to share with you almost, you know, hourly as it relates to timing. Sarah sometimes send out her MailChimp twice a day, you know, or maybe 4 or 5 times a week regarding the latest issue impacting our industry. So it's been a crazy, crazy 90 days. But, you know, we've adjusted, we've reacted, and I think it's going to prepare us better as we look to the future. Mike talked to about, and I'm not going to get into great, I'm not going to go over exactly what Mike talked about, but as it relates to the banking in the mortgage question or taking property, one of the things I've learned through this process too is these banks, by the way, I've worked with both small banks and big banks. Boy, this is almost like the 2008 recession challenge because they want to make sure they're highly capitalized. They're just not providing loans before COVID that they're doing now. They have safety measures in place. As I mentioned to you, we're not highly capitalized organization, so we have to walk this interesting dance. We're trying to get money, but we don't want to say that we don't have any money because then they're not going to lend us money. So it's this interesting dance we have to walk. So we are still, as we speak, Lee talked a little bit about, and he'll talk more about the PCOC issue, and we understand the challenges there. We are still working on a line of credit with Wells Fargo. We asked, consistent with the board direction, of up to $400,000. There is no guarantee, folks, that we'll get a line of credit up to $400,000. But at least now we have a process moving forward. The small business loans, to Jim Shockey's question, because we're a 501c6, we just didn't qualify for the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP. We actually, then there's the emergency component of the small business loan as well. It's hard, we didn't really qualify that as well. We heard about 3 weeks ago that new legislation going through Congress would amend the 501c6 to be included in the PPP program, but it was gutted out in the U.S. Senate because a lot of folks think they shouldn't be giving monies to provide monies to business trade associations who lobby government. So we don't expect to see the 501c6, our sort of business association, get any sorts of money from government. So that made it challenging as well. So Tom mentioned our advisory panel, and all I would say to you is that this is going to be a relatively fluid challenge the next 6 months, because if we can't do public events, then if we have to do this virtually, so that's going to be a new model for us. And for those of you who've been on our call over the last couple of days, Sylvia Kenmore, kudos to you for helping putting this together, but that might be our new normal. We're going to have to raise revenue through our virtual continuing education. We haven't done that before, but it might be where we go, because as we get into particularly the fall and the winter, we might be in another challenging environment, flu season, COVID, who knows what. So I raise these issues because uncertainty isn't our friend. And so we're going to have to figure out, and as Mike mentioned as well, we're looking at every expense we possibly can, particularly the next 6 months, to get through, the following 6 months. So it's, we'll get through this, but there's no question. Also, Jim Shockey, your question regarding the reserve. I happen to believe we should have a 6 months, minimum of 6 months reserve going forward, assuming we can, and that's another issue, how we get there. But it shouldn't be touched. It has to be approved to use that money, but so we don't find ourselves in this situation again. But in order to get there, we have to figure out, where those resources come from. Also want to talk about, I haven't forgot, some of you have sent me notes about our rodenticide bill, AB 1788. That bill still is parked in the Senate Appropriations Committee. We don't expect that bill to get out because, as you know, California is looking at a $54 billion budget problem. And if it isn't related to either budget or COVID, the legislature is not taking up any issue that's not directly related to either one of them. So we don't expect we're going to see 1788 this year. However, I must tell you, rodenticide issue is not done. And we've been working quietly with the department. Mike mentioned early on about all the quiet meetings. Well, we've had numerous meetings with the department about sort of next steps. We've talked about best management practices. We've shared some ideas about ways that we can cooperatively work with particularly the people who sponsor the bill, because I think that's going to be important as well. That this issue isn't going to go away. And we just have to figure out, what are we going to do in the long term to 1 second here. Can you hear that? We'll turn it off. So I raised that issue. Being the other issue too, it's going to be the issue of sulfuric fluoride. We continue to have discussions with the department. We now are at the gubernatorial level. We've had Dom Damari is setting up a meeting with a coalition of people, mortgage lenders, realtors, sort of a cross section of people that impacts sulfuric fluoride to meet in the governor's office. As you might imagine, the discussion with the department will continue. We fully expect the decision we made sometime by the end of this year, because now they're done their scientific evaluation section, and we get into the risk management portion, which is where the decisions are made. So I wanted to thank my friend John Sansom, Lee Whitmore. There's a whole group of people that have been involved in this issue for a long time, and we really like to resolve it, but it's got to be resolved in a way that's, you know, we don't lose what we have, that we're still allowed to fumigate homes in this state. So then lastly, under my report is two quick things. I think this is the most challenging environment this association has probably faced in some time. And I think we're going to need all your help. We know that on the financial side, we've already talked for months about sort of our, you know, moving forward, but I hope that we're going to keep you informed as it relates to the loan issue. We're going to keep you informed of the direction, even though we voted on it. We met with the district directors, district chairs a couple of weeks ago to make sure that everyone understood where we're going. I commit to you, before we do anything related to even a line of credit, everyone's going to know sort of what the interest rate is, what the line of credit is for, all the particulars. So you have my commitment that we're not going to do anything without folks knowing sort of the next direction of what we're attempting to do. Also just wanted to thank my friend on the screen who I'm looking at, Mike McKenzie. I've had the good fortune over the last 4 years to work, you know, as you all know, and you past presidents know too, you work pretty closely with the executive vice president. And I just wanted to thank Mike, who I've gotten to know really well over the last 4 years now as president. And he was right. This year has been uncertain, to say the least. And I just wanted to thank him very much for his active engagement in helping us work through this issue. Who would have thought that you'd be in the middle of a pandemic and you're going to have to now deal with losing events, challenging the association. And I think it's a real credit to him that we're here today, and his steady leadership, his understanding of where we're going to go. And by the way, I'm not going to let him retire either, folks. It's not like Mike's just going to go quietly. I fully expect Mike's going to be engaged with us. I've already talked to him about you know, issues regarding leadership and some other things that we're going to keep him engaged in. So I just want to publicly thank him for his efforts, his leadership, and his ability to sort of also bring everyone together. So, Mike, thank you, my friend, and that concludes my remarks.
I was going to put on like all this crazy sound.
Yeah.
I got it anyway. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. And the kind remarks. So
hey,
at
Mike,
this point,
Mike,
yes. Yeah.
John Sandstone here. I had a question.
Yeah.
For Chris. He's been talking to the board. Kathy Boyle sent us a report down from the structural board regarding license renewals. And in her remarks to us, she said that anybody that is renewing the last 10 days of June, that those renewals are not likely to be processed for several weeks, and that those people would not be able to work as the licensees until it's posted on the board website. How are we handling that, and is that the proper answer that we should be getting from them, or where are we with that?
Yeah, John's Chris. I'll be talking to. I am aware of that. I've been talking to Susan about that, and I know that Susan was we're supposed to actually talk tomorrow as well. So yes.
I mean, I think that the DMV is allowing, for people with driving licenses to continue to drive even if they don't have their renewal in hand. So anyways, I guess you're aware of it, and I hope we can get this resolved for licensees. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Lee, or John. I am aware.
Thanks, John. We're just giving Lee credit. Hey, Lee, we love you all. Thank you. All right, so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dean Wiley for our treasurer's report. Dean?
Good morning, everybody. If you want to turn to your balance sheets in your packet. Starting off, our current assets are $166,866 and are composed of checking, dues, money market, the building reserve, impound accounts, our regulatory response fund, and encumbered reserves. Our accounts receivable are $202,707 and are principally composed of 1819 state dues of $29,270, 1819 district dues of $8,193, PAPCO contributions for 1819 in the amount of $55,989, 1920 state dues in the amount of $86,690 with doubtful accounts at $6,500, 1920 district dues at $18,073 and doubtful accounts at $12,326, 1920 PAPCO dues $74,009 and doubtful accounts at $51,183. Other $491. Other assets are $15,574 and are comprised of prepaid insurance, prepaid expenses such as event deposits and suspense items, which are pass-through expenses. Fixed assets around $168,079 and are land, automobile, building and improvements, furniture and fixtures, and accumulated depreciation. Total assets come in at $556,781. Our liabilities are $81,696 and are principally referred to the auto loan, district dues, and trade. And trade is bills owed but not paid. Our other liabilities are at $423,466 and are principally composed of payroll liabilities of $3,486, deferred 1819 state dues of $31,893, deferred 1819 district dues of $8,836, deferred 1819 PAPCO contributions at $55,956, deferred 1920 state dues at $87,983, deferred 1920 district dues at $31,771, deferred 1920 PAPCO contributions at $90,434, deferred 2021 state dues at $76,422, deferred 2021 district dues at $10,425, deferred 2021 PAPCO contributions at $9,141, and deferred building fund income at $300. Deferred expo is $0, deferred ledge day is $0, deferred pest ed is $0, and deferred PWI-PM fundraising at $100. Our vacation payable is $16,688, and the sales tax is $30.15. Equity totals up at $51,619 and are composed of retained earnings of negative $32,969 and a net income of $84,588. Our total liabilities and equity balance out at $556,781. Statement of activities. This financial statement represents 83.3% of our total budgeted year. The income for the period is $27,746. Our year-to-date income is $745,449 and represents 81.7% of the budgeted amount. Expenses of the current period are $51,380, and our expenses year-to-date are $660,861, which represents 72.2% of the total budgeted amount. That leaves the remaining balance at negative $25,634. Do I have any questions on the budget? I'm sorry, on the financials?
Dean, how are we doing on the dues collection? Because we did it early.
I probably refer to Chris on that. Chris, do you know how we're doing on that?
Yeah,
I
thank
can
you.
speak. I can speak to that. Why is that echoing? Because you have this.
While they're figuring out Karen's problems, I've got a question regarding expenses. What is the ADA expense for that little over $60,000?
So the ADA is billed out dues, but haven't been collected yet. And in the past, we've held those numbers, and why they look the same all the time. We've held those numbers for at least 2 years, but now with Tom's leadership, we are going to work with Janai, and we're going to get those wiped out and off the books every year.
All right, I was wondering because that would seem to me like a American Disabilities Act expense, and I was hoping it wasn't.
No, it's doubtful account.
All right, thank you.
Karen, did we get you straightened up? Go ahead, Lee.
I was just going to say it might, I don't know, maybe at the next board meeting that we do face-to-face or something to get maybe a little bit of an explanation how that ADA is functioning. Because I see like in the, it's still reflected in the past years, and, when on the budget financials, it still shows on there. But, I look on this and we got the deferred and we got the AR, and it's still showing 18 and 19 numbers. And I see that the liabilities is about $3,000 roughly more than the receivables from 18-19. Does that get squared up at the end of this year? Is that what we're doing every 2 years? The
way it works, Lee, we made this adjustment a couple of years back where we were remember when we were trying to go to like a cash basis? And so in the effort to go to a cash basis, we left those doubtful accounts and the AR, but instead of it being a 24-month period, it's now a 12-month period. And that allows Karen to reach back and try and get those accounts. That's why it slowly decreases. So what you'll see in July's reporting, I guess July first quarter reporting, those numbers will be super high and they'll dwindle down. But as you get to the second half of the year, the people that are not going to pay and rejoin just won't pay and rejoin. So the number stays flat for like a 6-month period. So most of the actual like paying happens in that first 6 months when we retain the member. And so it does reset on July 1 every single year. And it zeroes out from the previous year. And that was an effort to move towards the cash basis that we found we couldn't move 100% to.
Thank you.
And there was the first question that Karen was going to answer. I think Larry, you brought that up. Could you maybe ask that again? Because I don't believe we answered it.
Yeah, this is Chris. Hey, Larry, our dues, as you know, we went out a month early, or at least, in the April timeframe. I understand that wasn't highly unusual. But as we speak today, we've gotten in a little bit over 200,000 in dues. So it's been, dues normally, it's about half our dues in right now. As Mike said, we normally get the vast majority of our dues the first 6 months historically.
Thanks.
Hi, Rudy with Ventura District. I have a question about the dues. Is it possible, or has it been discussed, to have people or members pay dues a year or maybe even more than 1 year up front in order to kind of get some cash available now?
Yeah, Rudy, that's on the table. In our discussion yesterday in an executive committee meeting, we did talk about anywhere from doubling the dues to assessing the dues. It's all on the table in regards to trying to see how we can kind of climb out of this thing.
Yeah, in new business, we're gonna actually have a discussion about revenue generation and some of the ideas that are out there. And then I'm gonna seek input like, Rudy, like you just shared. What does that look like? And the viability of it. So you've heard already, I think Chris alluded to, or somebody alluded to, the PCOC store and branded merchandise. So things of that nature. So within new business, prior to Tom talking about his budget, we're going to talk about some of the revenue generating ideas. So, but you know, that's a great share, great concept. Any other questions for Dean regarding the financial reporting?
I got one more question back on the ADA expense and my inability to understand how that works, I guess. So when is that? So after the year closes out, Mike, or Dean, is that, so at some point that number's backed out, right? Mm-hmm. So we should get the financials, you know, for closed out years after that number. The association membership should receive the financials after that number has actually been trued up, you know, because otherwise it looks like we got a $60,000 hole every year, you know, that's not necessarily true, right? So we should receive the financials after that's been removed from the year end so that we get a true picture of what the year actually ended up as. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody else? Going once, going twice. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Dean. I'm like, we're halfway done, and every moment I get more excited. I'm just putting that out there. Next up, we have new business. So as I was just alluding to, we were going to talk about revenue generation. So in our executive committee meeting, there's been a lot of ideas kicked around. And I wanted to share some of those ideas, or have some of the executive committee share some of those ideas with you, because we don't know that we have the answer, but we have some concepts, right? And beyond that, I think with 95 people on this call, and obviously 95 is the number on the screen, but at Tom's house, it probably puts us to like 140. But with that many people on the call, there's going to be a lot of great potential ideas for us to generate potential income. And I don't want anybody to think that we're looking for the grand slams and, you know, we've got to come up with $200,000 like that, right? I mean, it's one of those small hits, singles and doubles. Speaking baseball terms, singles and doubles will ultimately get us to the win and take us across the finish line. So that being said, you know, Mary, I hate to put you on the spot, but you're on my screen. Would you like to talk about the PCOC store idea?
Love to. Am I on? Love to.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So we were talking about it with the district chairs and with the executive committee, trying to put a store together for PCOC that would raise funds. And I would like the input because I think it's a great idea, but we have to have everybody's buy-in and, you know, so with that being said, I think we're going to put up on the screen kind of like a mock. It's a store. You go in, you click what you want, what size you want, what color you want. It ships directly to you, taxes, everything. You just pay by credit card. Boom, you've got your order. So what we were, and I don't know, Tom, if that was something that was able to be put up. Mike, you might be able to do it because you did it yesterday at our executive meeting. Just going through the mock one. I don't have hours, but it will show you how it's set up. With that being said,
keep going through it, and I'll pull it up right now.
Yeah, no problem. With that being said, we were looking at doing water bottles because, you know, plastic is so bad. So water bottles with PCOC with our logo on there. Ladies V-neck T-shirt, men's crew T-shirt, polos. So there's a higher end one. It's called OGIO brand for the ladies. The men, which is a little cheaper, so there would be a higher end one and a less expensive one. Polo shirt. Men's would be a Nike Classic polo at the higher end, and then a dry fit polo at the a little bit more, well, they're not unaffordable, but a I don't want to say cheaper, but I will. Okay, hats. We were looking at fold-up beanies, skull cap beanies, unstructured Nike cap, unstructured regular cap, and then the new era trucker cap, because someone in our group likes new era. So we threw that in. That would be Mike.
Me, yeah.
And then we had long sleeve, like not shirts, but a lightweight. Go
ahead. I'm just sharing this.
Am I there? Oh, okay. I'm still there. So lightweight, 1/4 zip up with like a little collar, for men and for women both. Men's and women's lightweight, and then we would do also one with a micro fleece, which would be a full zip up. If you want the monogrammed, there's an option to have everything monogrammed there also. So this on the screen is kind of how it's set up. So you would go in, you pick our company PCOC, you would go to what you want, you select it, it's all taken care of for you. She has suggested, since we're doing this as a fundraiser, to do a 2-week open window, advertise the heck out of it, do a 2-week open window, and then close it, and then everything would come out right after that. So you get everything taken care of and out. The only thing that we would have to, purchase if we added the water bottles, because that's bought in bulk, and I believe it's a 48-pack minimum. So if we didn't sell them all, we can always order more, but if we didn't sell them all, we would purchase them, which, you know, they're not going to go bad or anything. And with that being said, I'm kind of wondering what the interest level is, because if we don't get like a full buy-in, it's not really worth doing it. Or if there's items on here that you think, you know, do we really want a beanie, or do we really want a long sleeve fleece shirt, or, you know, so I'm interested in feedback. We can get this up and running pretty quickly. And,
hey, Mary, this is Foster from the Past Posse. I'm not going to put my video up because we got too much bandwidth going here. But so with the store and everything that we're creating, the water bottles is the only thing that we'd have to purchase up front. Everything else, there's no upfront cost on anything as far as setting it up and all that, right? And they would set up.
She already has our logo because she did the bumper stickers.
Okay.
And that's another aspect that I encourage, but I'll get there. Go ahead, finish.
Okay. No, that's all I was wondering. As long as there's no upfront costs and there's no minimums that have to be purchased with anything, and it's all basically print on demand and all that. So
yeah,
okay. That's just the main thing. Yeah, with the concern with that, because sometimes that can happen where you have to buy minimums and everything. So as long as you don't have to do that, that's the main thing.
Hey, Mary, this is Eric.
Go ahead.
This is Eric Wilson. Is there a reason why we just want to hold it for 2 weeks? In years past, we used to sell shirts and hats and frisbees, all sorts of logo things, and we actually had a Amazon store and so forth. So I think if we were just to start making these things available and promote it to membership, I think it would be fantastic.
No, but we were doing it as a fundraiser, and so do we want to do this as a store for a long term? But then if somebody orders like one beanie, you know, that's a lot of, you know, then you have to get the beanie, you know, you'd have to purchase the beanie and then you just send that out, and then like a month later somebody purchases one thing. I mean, we could do this multiple times throughout the year. We could pop up a store, you know, like say November, do it in July, do it in November, do it in April, and do it for a 2-week stint.
Hey, Mary, this is Foster from the Pest Posse again.
Yeah.
And another option to do, because it doesn't cost anything to set it up. It's all print on demand, but it's also Teesprings as well too, because the whole store is there. It's T-shirts, it's everything. They do everything on demand. Everything's silk screen. They do it all, and you can add items in there. I mean, they don't have polo shirts and everything because they're doing silk screening and they're not doing stitching. But, you know, they have hats, they have coffee cups, you know, there's no minimums to buy with it. It costs nothing to set up the store, whatever, with Teesprings, and it can be there forevermore. And you can mark up your shirts as far as how much you want them to be and how much profit you want to make on them and everything. And there's no runs times or anything. If somebody orders one shirt, they'll ship out one shirt. There's nothing with it with Teespring. You just go in and set up the shirt and away you go. It's passive income coming in. Whenever somebody buys something, it goes into the account.
I'm not familiar with Teespring. This company said that they would be willing to do it at longer term. However, she thought since it was a fundraiser that we would want to, you know, take care of everything in a shorter period of time.
So let me jump in for a sec here. Sure. So this is about concepts, right? And it's giving the executive committee and the association ideas to run with and to explore. We don't have to work out every sense of logistics here on this call, or we're going to be here for like the next 7 days. And so it's about the concept, right? So with that, Mary, I think that's an awesome concept. I mean, a lot of chatter going on in the group or the Zoom group chat. You know, Rudy brought up, you know, masks, PPE, patches. Seems like something that would be high value to have, like a mask that's branded potentially, things of that nature. So yeah, so I thank you for sharing that. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, I just have one more thing with that. You know, if you want, you can email me and let me know if you think different things need to be added. If you don't like, you know, what I said, what we're offering, if we need to offer something different, something more. I just want to know what's the buy-in, you know, thumbs up, will everybody participate? Because this is actually a fundraiser for our PCOC organization.
Okay.
So with that, and then my next thing real quick, I don't know if you can see these, it might be backwards on your screen, but these are our PCOC, oh, upside down, sorry. These are our bumper stickers. Every truck should have one of these on there. Our PCOC office has these. We have 1,000 of them. We can get more. Every company needs to buy one and put one on your truck, put one on your car. We need to advertise it. This is our tagline, and this is what we do. And I have it on my car and on my truck. And everybody, you know, there's a lot of people that stop us and talk to us about this. So,
all right,
get them while you can.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
All right, so that's one concept. Now, along in the vein of what Rudy was talking about, Greg, if you're on the call, Greg Augustine. So Rudy was talking about, you know, the potential of doubling up dues or paying a year in advance, things of that nature. And I know that Greg was talking yesterday and has been talking about a couple of different things. So Greg Augustine, are you out there?
I am here.
All right. Could you share what you were discussing yesterday?
Okay. It might be a bit different from what Rudy was suggesting. I understand the concept of paying dues a year in advance, and hopefully if people choose to pay, first off, paying in advance, I think most of us pay a year at a time. I know that there is a payment program within PCOC, but for the most part, I think we all pay our dues a year, the whole chunk. So I think when Rudy's talking about a year in advance, I think he's talking about paying next year's dues, and hopefully there's an accounting method to keep track of that so that people would know, the association would be aware that people paid 2 years of dues. That is somewhat of a variation on an idea that I have, but I think that is a very, very strong idea. And this is in response, you know, when we voted last time to borrow money on the office, there later, I became aware of a lot of pushback in spite of the fact that the vote went through. There was a lot of, I suppose, buyer's remorse or thinking that that wasn't such a good idea. So the reality is the association's in a tough time right now due to COVID. I think it's been brought out by Jim Shockey on this call that there's not been a reserve, and he said 50 years. I think we're about 70 or 80 years old, this association, but there's not a reserve. And I wanted to, and then also Lee Whitmore brought up the fact that we've been overspending for the last couple of years. And I think that there's a bit of that took place. You know, we went from the Martin era where there was sort of a malaise. And I think that Chris came in and we really wanted to support Chris. And I think the executive committee worked hard to support Chris and put in some more robust programs. And I think in the process, perhaps we overspent. The other thing that really happened and took us by surprise was Carlsbad. You know, I think people felt Legoland and Carlsbad would be a win. And it just turned out to be a bust in terms of a convention location. And certainly the location has a lot to do with a successful convention. And I don't think people anticipated Carlsbad being the disappointment that it was. But keep in mind, we're coming into COVID on a year with one of our worst conventions in a long time. So all this took place as a double whammy. And Mike has also said that he's looking for singles and base hits, and I'm all for that and appreciate what Mary's doing and all that things. But I think we're talking about borrowing $400,000. That's a home run. And the only thing that I can imagine that would even compete with that would be to double our dues this year. And there's been a lot of pushback on the executive committee. I'm sort of a lone wolf suggesting that we double our dues or make an assessment of everybody. There's thoughts of caring for people that are branch 1 only. Certainly they've taken a big hit. There's thoughts not all branch 3s are doing well. And so perhaps rather than having something as brash and bold as an assessment, and I don't imagine it might even pass the board of directors to double our dues. And certainly the executive committee could not make this decision. It would have to be made by the board of directors. So the idea morphed into some sort of club, a C19 club, COVID-19 club, or, you know, like we have Club 99, this would be Club 19, or perhaps Club 2020, something like that, where people would volunteer to double their dues for this year. And I think that would give us the home run that we need. You know, right now we're tenuously planning this year with Paso Robles working out. If Paso Robles goes away, this year changes dramatically. And I'd like, you know, I guess I think back to the night of Thursday, March, not on my calendar anymore. I think it was Thursday, March 17th or 16th when Gavin Newsom made that order. And there was sheer panic in my thinking. And when I found out that PCOC had worked very, very hard to make sure that exterminators are an essential service, if you ask me today, what has PCOC done for me? Well, it's kept me in business for the last 3 months. I could take my last 3 months of revenue, and if you say, what is PCOC worth to me? The answer is, take my last 3 months of revenue, and the fact that I was an essential service and was able to go to work every day is the value of PCOC to me. And I think to pay double my dues in this, you know, once every 100 years pandemic is appropriate. And I think I do defer to some of my executive committee members that it ought to be done on a voluntary basis, done on some sort of club basis, and we could honor the people that do come forward and step forward with this, with some sort of plaque, or, you know, I don't know how to honor them, but a way to honor folks going forward. Wouldn't want to do it with a great deal of pressure, but with a great deal of appreciation. And I, for one, am ready to double my dues for this year in response simply just that I'm an essential service, and I don't take that for granted. I do know there's precedent at the national level and so forth for exterminators to be essential, but believe me, Chris Reardon was there at the tip of the spear, as I think also was Mike McKenzie, on that week of that very infamous week of March. I think it was the third week of March, coming into March. Maybe it was the 18th or 19th. I don't remember exactly. But if that had tipped the other way, I would be bankrupt right now. So I can't put a value on PCOC. I really can't. It's my livelihood. And I know that sounds a little bit maudlin, but I do believe it to be the absolute truth. And I know the truth. If I had not been essential, I would be bankrupt right now, which is no question about it. And so I, for one, am very happy to double my dues this year, write the check tomorrow or today, and get it up to the district. I've already paid the dues for this season. I appreciated them going out early and paid it right away. Appreciate everybody who's done that. Anybody who's already paid their 2020, 2021 dues, thank you. This is a little different from Rudy's idea. I'm not suggesting we pay 21, 22 dues at this point. I'm suggesting we pay double for this year.
Thanks, Greg. All right, so that's a couple of the ideas. Another idea that we had was building more robust trainings, virtual, online, and some of us are experiencing that as we speak, or in the last few days. And one of the items that came out, and this wasn't in the executive committee, it just literally came out this morning, was the idea of doing a leadership training. And over a 12-month period of virtual leadership training where and opening it up to like 10, 15 people, something like that, to where you could have a professional leadership trainer, not just one of us doing the training, offering leadership, guidance, and mentorship virtually, as well as teaching them skills on a monthly basis over a 12-month period. And ultimately what it would require, I don't know what the investment looks like, but potentially putting sponsors together that would have the opportunity to talk to these leaders, these 10 or 12 or 15 leaders. And then from there, the leaders get one-on-one coaching, group coaching, as well as a monthly topic, if you will, where they would learn from a leadership trainer, a professional leadership trainer. So that being said, it's another revenue generating opportunity online from the comfort of your office, your home, whatever it is, that requires probably about 3 hours a month in topic learning. So that's another opportunity that's come up. So there's quite a few different things we've been talking about. There's more beyond this, but I don't want to bore people to death with the details because I see a lot of faces that are staring off into blank space right now. But I'd love to hear from you about anything that you've heard or about any concepts that you may have that could be some quick hits or huge hits, whatever you have as an idea. Because again, back to collectively 95 people is a lot better than 7 or 10. Is there any thoughts? It looks like Lee. You're muted. Lee, you're still muted.
Okay, how's that? I've probably talked too much already, but this is, I think, an important one. Leading up into the expo, I sent checks in for our company to participate. Right now on the income statement, that shows is $101,415 amongst all of us.
Yeah.
You can keep my money. I don't, bill me for whatever, we need to do to participate in September. And, I already considered that money spent. And so even though you didn't have the convention, you can just keep my money for that. And, I encourage those that are on this call that feel similarly to raise their hands right now and let us know, if you're willing to do that, then they can move that money into income and not be considering having to write checks back to people or have that be part of the September commitment, for the added event. This is a time of crisis. I'm happy doing that. So keep my cash, from that. And
Thank you,
hopefully
Lee.
we can get a lot of folks that would agree. I know me and John Sansona talked about that, and he thought that was a good idea. And so just think that if we can get the sponsors as well as the membership to do that, that's $100,000 in the right direction.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah, and if
Mike.
Yeah, John.
John Sansone here. I don't know what the terminology might be this year. We're a platinum sponsor. We've already budgeted that money. We've budgeted money for the convention. I mean, we'd be willing to pay the money without the event, and that way there would be a huge net for the association. I know that's not really a model or the best model moving forward, but I mean, I don't know what other sponsors, certainly somebody could organize to try to call most of the sponsors, but we've already budgeted the money. So whether there is a pass rollables, not, just keep the money and don't worry about trying to put on the convention where you're going to have a huge expense against the revenue that would be coming in. That would be my suggestion. And, you know, we're happy to help out the association. It does so much for all of the membership. And without the association over the years, we'd be in a much worse position. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Yeah, great points. And I'm seeing a lot of chatter going on in the group chat. Thank you all for that. And this is a personal decision, right? I mean, I saw some hands go up and a lot of you did. And believe me, we appreciate any bit that we can get. And I know we all value the association, but it is a personal decision, okay? We are not mandating we're just keeping your money or anything like that. So please feel free to discuss. And we are planning the event in September. So beyond that, you know, Lee, John, thank you so much for that. Ray Carrier, I see you there. Thank you. Jim, thank you for that as well. Is there any other thoughts or comments regarding revenue generation?
Mike?
Yeah.
This is Greg Augustine. First off, John Sansone, I can't thank you enough for, you know, what I'll call donating or forfeiting your platinum fees for the June convention to the association without further obligation. That's, I mean, as Mike McKenzie said, it's voluntary. We can't impose that on others, but speaks loudly of you, your appreciation for this association, and your commitment to our industry. Thank you very much, John. Following up on what Lee Whitmore said, I think we need to get a way to chronicle this. I don't know that now is the time, but maybe something could go out, but I would like to follow up with Lee and forfeit/donate, I'm not sure what word to use, my fees for Ledge Day. I know they're on the books. I'd like to forfeit, and when I say fees, I'm just as a registrant, not, I mean, as a registration fees. I'm not a sponsor or anything like that. I know this happens on several levels, but my registration fees for Ledge Day were paid a long time ago. My registration fees for Monterey were paid a long time ago. I'm happy. I'm not only happy, I'm choosing to forfeit them / donate them. Probably donate is a better word than forfeit. I don't know how we have to posture this, but I want to follow up on Lee's point there that I don't expect my fees to be carried forward to some future event or encumber the association with an obligation. The fact is the events were scrubbed and lost, and my money was already spent. So I want to, but I think what we need to do is have some way for people to make this decision in good faith. Either way, if they want to refund, they want to refund, but either way, we need to get it so that we sort of clean this up and know what to do with the money, as opposed to wondering what people are going to do.
Awesome. Thank you.
I know that tasks Sarah and Janai and people would work, but you know, maybe a simple form. I choose to, you know, forfeit, refund, or defer to a future event, something along those lines. I don't know exactly how to make this work, but I think it needs to be chronicled so that we can clean up the books too. You know,
Yep.
if it's revenue.
Absolutely. We will definitely get working on that. And again, I really truly thank everybody. I mean, that all of the chats that are going on and donation of registration fees and doubling up. I mean, that's happening left and right now. So thank you all for that. And, you know, does anybody have anything that they would like to add or any thoughts towards revenue generation before I turn it over to Tom for his proposed budget?
Hey, Mike, this is Larry Treelevin.
Hey, Larry.
I think that there's also another option to follow Greg's leadership on that idea, and that is just for us to donate another $1,000 to the association. So Sprague would be willing to do that. If Karen can send me another invoice, I think we just processed one. We can do that in a lump sum to help out during this shortfall period.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, it's awesome when this industry comes together like this and this association. And as everybody, we're attempting to weather this storm and grow our association all at the same time. So any other, and I'm not asking for anybody to donate or anything else, but any other concepts or thoughts before we move forward?
Mike, could I say just one thing?
Yes.
I think we also want to remember our districts. A lot of our districts aren't able to meet, and because we're not meeting in person, we're not necessarily raising as many funds. And so I think it's important for us to kind of look at what we've been used to spending to support our district. Maybe we're not going to get a dinner with it, but I think we need to keep in mind that we keep those districts funded as well, and keep the dollars going to them even though we can't get together.
Yeah, good point, Jim. Very good point. All right, so at this point, I'm going to turn this section over to Tom to discuss his 2020-2021 budget.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Monterey. Foster, do you want to bring up my budget? So there was a revised budget that went out a few days ago. I don't know if you got it. I'm asking Foster to bring it up. I just want to point out a couple of things. One, oh, well, that's a small budget. One thing I want to make everybody aware of is that I have to budget to, as if we're going to move forward as normal business. I budgeted for still running the expo at Disneyland. Disneyland is one of our most highly attended expos. You know, so we're going to be running, you know, with generating a revenue of $170,000. And one other thing I want to point out in here as far as revenue, the Termite Academy was a great success. You know, our intention was rolling into the second year that we'd run with the second one. As you can see, it generated, $30,000. I'm looking at not matching exactly what a second one would look like, but looking at that income at being $54,000. I think even, if we can't hold them together in person, we're going to be looking at our virtual options with that as well. It was well received, and it's obviously well needed in our industry. You know, a big shout out to Mike McKenzie and Garrett Thrasher. He did an awesome job. Thrasher pretty well took it by the reins and ran with it, and did an amazing job. The feedback was amazing. We even actually had people there from the board, and I got emails from them after saying, "Wow, this is really something that is needed in our industry." It's nice to see PCOC stepping up once again. So that was great, actually. You can see in our expenses are for our board of directors meeting. I did add to it because on the board of directors meeting we have, oops, no, I'm not muted. Oh, okay. Sorry, my wife just said I was muted, but I'm not. She's just trying to mute me. So, with our expenses, the board of directors meeting is going to be a little bit more expensive. Like we're trying to honor our affiliates and work for our money that was already donated through, like for the previous events that we weren't able to hold. So that 39,000, I really hope we're able to run with that in September. It's in Paso Robles. It's a driving distance, kind of central California, so it's driving distance for a lot of people. And we've booked a lot of the events outside. We are going to have our trade show. We're looking at doing our auction, as Chris Reardon, but it's going to be a hybrid expo. So look forward to that, and look forward to Sarah's emails as we plug that along. As far as anything else, of course, I've had to raise the cost of doing the Termite Academy. Besides that, everything is pretty well running to trend, looking at a 7-year trend. Are there any questions at this time? While we're waiting for...
Tammy with Monterey Bay District.
Hey, Tammy.
Hi. With the numbers going up in California, is there any consideration that people would be hesitant to physically attend Expo this fall?
Well,
and maybe the numbers will be lower because of that?
You know, Tammy, that is a big conversation. You know, if you look back to when this has all been really hitting the news as far as restrictions, you know, and stay at home, it's only been 3 months. It seems like it's been 5 years, but it's actually only been 3 months, you know? So we're looking at this event being still 3 more months away. So, you know, I think the best thing to do would be to plan and plan to charge ahead and make the adjustments as we go along. You know, I'm hoping the confidence picks up. I'm hoping our numbers drop. You know, there's a lot of ifs up in the air. So fingers crossed that our numbers drop and we're able to function as, you know, as an association like we have in the past. Virtual meetings have worked. I don't know how effectively, because I think we all enjoy being around each other, and I think we enjoy the opportunities to just share general conversation. So that's kind of where we're sitting with this right now.
Okay. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Tom, Bill Gaither here.
Hey, Billy.
Hey, can you speak to the numbers for the PAPCO contribution and what those numbers mean? There's some discrepancies there that I may be seeing or not. I don't know.
You asked me to speak to the PAPCO numbers?
Yeah, the PAPCO contribution, the numbers that were budgeted for last year, the numbers that are budgeted for this year. It seems like a big difference in the numbers there.
Yeah, why was the 53,000 budgeted?
I can speak to that. So within my budget, that was the money from MPMA that we donated towards PAPCO. And then the 12,150 is a straight 3%. That's the minimum contribution that we should receive. It's 3% from the dues above.
Okay, so then
I couldn't hear you, Billy. Did you say you're okay with that?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any more questions?
Tom, this is Larry. Is that
Hey, Larry.
the 99 Club money that's in there?
No.
Okay. So that is separate then.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. It's a nice picture in the back, Larry.
Hey, Tom, this is Jackie Clark. I was wondering,
Hey,
what is
Jackie.
commission income?
What is what?
Commission income?
Mike, would you be able to answer that?
No.
It's where we pay our insurance? No.
Well, it's
Oh
income.
no, that's the rebate from Peacock. Is that the rebate from Peacock? The commission from
It is the
Peacock?
rebate from Peacock. Yes, it's a rebate from Peacock.
Okay, thanks.
No, Larry, no more questions. Okay. If there's no more questions, you know what? I just want to do a shout out to the guys that all donated their funds. You know, this is a very stressful time for us, and to see people like Lee and several other people, I mean, step up like they did. You know, that's awesome. It's kind of the industry community we have, and just I'm very proud to be part of it. So thank you, everybody.
Hey,
I'd like to call for a motion to approve the budget as it is.
You do.
Bullert, I motion to approve the budget as presented.
I'm sorry, who was that?
That was Mike Bullert, approved the motion. Do I have a second?
Larry Treelevin seconds the motion.
All in favor?
Discussion?
Oh, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any naysayers? Thank you, everybody.
All right, awesome. And I'm not, I just got to tell you all, the commission income, Tom, that's something I would look into because I'm not exactly sure that that's where it came from. It's the first thing that popped in my head. So I recommend that we take a look at that and maybe report back. And I apologize. I don't know that off the top of my head. You kind of put me on the spot there, which was awesome. So I do want to say, again, just what Tom said, to everybody that is donating and pledging different monies, we really appreciate you. And I will pledge Tom's effort. My pledge to you through Tom will be that you will be recognized and you are definitely appreciated. So thank you all for what you are doing, and thank you all for doing what you've done. So with that, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Lee Whitmore for our PCOC insurance report.
Thanks, Mike. Can we bring up the PCOC financials? We'll start with just go through it real quickly. The balance sheet. You can turn to their yellow sheets in their package, or the financials that are right after the blue sheets in the packet. I'll just go through this. I'm not going to go line by line. We'll just kind of go through it quickly. A few things that I'll point out. The Wells Fargo trust amount that shows as $1,429,695, the second line item there. That's actually collateral dollars that the association that we have actually put up in establishing the captive insurance program that we have. So those dollars were generated from our association, went into a trust to cover the collateral requirements for all the years that we've actually been participating in the trust or in the captive insurance program. That number below that, Schwab Investments, that's our onshore investment account. We actually hired Jason Brown. He actually helps us with Alexis Investments. He helps us with onshore investment dollars. Over the last couple of months, we've seen that number plummet. As of this second, that number is up to $431,017.91. And so it's already recovered and, well into the black of what it was pre-COVID. So we've seen actually a much significant improvement there, and up about $20,000, $18,000. So that's looking better as well. Scroll down to the liabilities. So the liabilities are pretty straightforward. We have retained earnings. The net income for the period transferred over from the statement of activities shows loss of $1,000. All balancing at $1,886,745. Next page, please. So on the statement of activities, again, you can see the investment income going up to $30,903 for this period, but still down 18. Again, that 18,000 has been recovered now based on the current results. All of the expenses are in line. We have a captive expense that's paid to Artix, which is the folks that handle our offshore transactions in Bermuda. We have PCOC reimbursement of $3,000 that we pay on a monthly basis to help the association for the support that they provide to the insurance program. So all of that's good. We show down at the bottom net income for the period of $40,570.30 and a net loss for the year to date, $1,071.80 predominantly caused by the reduction in our onshore investments, which again, we've recouped. So that's the investments. So thank you very much. That's, I'll go on. I don't need that screen anymore. So just want you guys to know, so we're entering our 15th year of being in a captive insurance program. AIX handles a lot of these, you know, around the nation. And, you know, I think it's worth, you know, giving yourselves a lot of credit for this, but we are the oldest program. They are a huge insurance organization, and we are the oldest captive program that they have on their books, you know? And so we, you know, when I talk to other insurance folks, they're extremely surprised that we've been able to sort of keep this, you know, thing going for 15 years now. And it's been, you know, it's been a good run. For the, you know, just back up a little bit, for the first few years, it was pretty terrible. In year one, we had some severe losses. Years 2 and 3, we got into the workers' comp and participated in that. We lost a lot of money in that. In one of those 2 years, you know, just right off the bat, we had a catastrophic auto accident that pegged out at the full amount and costed us a ton of money. So we got off to a pretty rocky start. But since then, programs years 4 through 11, and that covers years 2010 through 2017, we've done very, very well. We've had a lot of extra dollars that have come from those years. So the way it works is the premiums go in, the expenses associated with managing the program, so the administration costs come off the top of that, and then the claims are paid. And whatever's left, we actually share in either the profit or a part of the loss of those years. So in 4 through 11, through 2010 through 2017, we earned money in all of those years, some years significantly. Now what's happened since then, programs year 12 through 14, which covers 17, 18, 19, and 20, we've taken some major hits. And so Paul and I have stood in front of you guys for the last several quarterly meetings and talked about, you know, some of those claims. And what they boil down to really is there's been significant development on them. And what it boils down to, the most egregious claims have been a few specific exposures. One is on the GL side, we've broken a lot of water pipes hanging out in the attics of properties. There's been several of those that have come in. You know, we just got one, the most recent, you know, settled just north of $100,000, and that's been the best result that we've had. We've had several of those that have been $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 claims, and so those really erode the GL participation, you know, or the GL profitability quickly. You just get a couple of those. More significantly, what it's been, though, has been auto claims, and primarily rear enders, where our drivers are distracted and are crashing into people and you know, many times forcing them into somebody else in front of them. And so these claims are coming in at a huge amount. I'll tell you right now, on all the open claims that we have those, you know, pegged. We review those on a quarterly basis as well. We just did that 2 days ago. Right now, open claims, we have $3,760,444 in paid expenses and estimated development earmarked on those losses. That's a big number. We have 11 claims on that list that's outstanding that are over $100,000 estimated expenses. Again, a lot of big losses, and we just can't afford it, you know. So those areas, and Paul will talk some about how do we improve on that, but we really need to work, you know, not only on the auto but even on the GL front, and figure out a way to mitigate our exposure in these attics, because we've had too many of those, and the program just can't afford to continue to ignore that exposure, I think. So part of it is us doing better with the results on our front, you know, and trying to mitigate those. The other thing that we've really looked at from a committee standpoint, and working with Paul and Laura and Mickel, has been, you know, how well do we feel like the claims are being administered? A few of you guys have contacted me with concerns over auto claims that, you know, your drivers have been involved in and how far they've developed. One thing I'll tell you, I mean, vehicles just cost more to get fixed today, but we still want to be responsive to those concerns and make sure that the people who are administering those claims are doing the very best that they can to keep those numbers down. In the last few months, we've actually switched from Athens administrators over to Sedgwick, who is handling claims administration on behalf of our program now. And initial indications are they're hungry and they look like they're really going to be an improvement maybe upon what we were doing before. And so we're excited to see that. And again, what we need from you guys is to be involved in that process too. When you get a claim on an auto accident, provide as much detailed information as possible. Make sure that you have a process that documents all the details, gets copies of everything, takes pictures of the other vehicles, make sure that you get the contact information, all of that stuff. Sometimes we get rather spotty information, and it's very difficult for the administrators to protect us whenever they go to process that claim if they don't have adequate information from the actual incident. And so Paul and Laura and Michael, again, they can provide you, you know, the forms and training, and Paul will hit on some of that stuff at the conclusion of this. So that brings me to the next discussion point that I wanted to go over. Is each year we renew our program, and it's scheduled on the same fiscal year now as the association. But our partners at AIX are typically late to get us what the numbers are to renew. And so they've been looking at the development that I was talking about over the past 3 years. And for about 6 years now, we haven't had to come up with any additional collateral. Our earnings from the prior years have collateralized our new year. The way they look at it is each year, you know, we're participating at a 40% ownership level. And so they take that 40% ownership of the premium that's coming in, and they peg it out as if it's a complete loss year. So we, you know, what is our exposure at the full exposure level? So we're exposed actually even above 40% of the premium, you know, because part of that, there's administrative costs that add on to that as well. And so just think, you know, as far as our ownership, we're actually exposed over what we could lose more than we have skin in the game for each year, put it that way. And so this year they've come to us and they've asked for an additional $434,000 in collateral for us to maintain our current 40% participation level. Timing couldn't be worse, because we were talking with Chris and Mike and Tom about trying to see if we weren't able to provide some sort of loan agreement to the association, you know, for them to weather the COVID storm. And then to have the collateral call now after 6 or 7 years not having one, you know, makes it very challenging, especially given the number. We're working through our folks to try to work out an arrangement that, you know, that will decrease the amount of cash that they're asking for us right now, whether that's an adjustment in our participation level, possibly going through reinsurance to reduce our risk exposure on specific claims, so that each claim, let's say, like, you know, on any claim, we would be capped at $500,000 or something, like, you know, just as an example, and that additional exposure would be reinsured. So we would pay a premium in order to do that. So we're working through some different ideas. We also pushed back on how much they asked and don't expect that we'll have to pay that full amount. So it's a dynamic process. Our renewal right now, we're not sure how that'll pan out. We'll know in the next few weeks exactly how that happens. But I do expect we're going to have to write a check. And I do expect, you know, that we just got to do better with our results. We can't afford to continue to have these bad years. And I just want you to know, all of the membership, it's really important that you understand your auto rates are going to be going up, and it's rightfully so. We've had a lot of claims, and this isn't just our industry, it's industry wide. And so you need to just kind of help with that as well. You know, don't shop it and end up changing for a 2% decrease with a market that's going to dry up later on. We really need all of our insured to support this ordeal, you know, in the short term, so that we can capture more rate and get some better results. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Paul now and have Paul go over. Paul, if you could just cover general market conditions and kind of hit on some of the auto ideas that we've talked about over the last several meetings as well. Thank you.
Certainly. Well, as you can imagine, the insurance industry has been heavily impacted by COVID and by the riots and the social unrest. So we no longer talk about the next normal. We talk about or not the new normal. We talk about the next normal, and we define the next normal as chaos. So we're all feeling it and dealing with it. You're going to be seeing a big impact on workers' comp because of the adjudication that COVID-related claims will be covered by workers' comp if your employee comes down with COVID-19 and has medical expenses. Those type of things are real. Lee talked about the auto results. That is a national crisis. It's been going on for the past 2 or 3 years in all industries. We've talked about it at numerous board meetings. And the trends continue. Just to underscore that, I was looking at, like, Lee did a great job of recapping the numbers. But we have 8 auto claims that alone account for $2.7 million in losses, just these 8 claims. One of the claims is $800,000. We had a claim that last year was reserved at $40,000. And as new claimants popped up out of the car with bodily injury, that claim is now reserved at $440,000. So it's real. Lee talked about the long-term success of this program and that it is the longest running pest control program in the country. The reason is because of individuals like Lee, Joe Gatto, Janet Thrasher, Lauren Thrasher, Jim Shockey, those in the PCOC group and the PCOC. The oversight that you're hearing from Lee and his discussions with our quarterly claims meetings, that all is feedback to the adjusters, and it is so invaluable. I just can't emphasize that, nor can I give enough credit to this association for the continued governance of it. On the auto side, here's what's perplexing to me. I think for the last 2 years, at every quarter meeting, I've stood up and talked about auto losses. We've offered help. We will train in person or virtual. We've now expanded that offer to non-insured. So anybody in the pest control industry that wants auto training, we'll give it to you. Okay, and we announced that, 6 months ago. We've sent out emails and blasts on that. We've probably had, out of our 400 insureds, about 15 requests. So we're only touching a handful of people despite this offer of help. Really, very few are taking, less, like, what is that? Less than 3% are taking up the offer. So I would ask everybody in this call to reflect on your own driver training, what you're doing with your drivers. And I will tell you that Chuck Vancura, who some of you remember who have met, who's an independent risk control guy, he says that, in the country, only 15% of employers engage in formal driver training. And that's the same in the pest control side. So I can assure you, your losses will continue unless you get driver selection, training, reward systems, and refreshing going. That'll happen. Number 2, must. Dash cams and GPS. The telematics are making a difference. And like Lee pointed out, vehicles are more expensive to repair. They are just costly. And the plaintiff attorneys are on to the game of how to maximize a claim, especially on the bodily injury front. So my ask of you and everybody on this board in this meeting is to reach out to Michael, Laura, me, whoever, engage in driver training. We can send you materials. We can do a virtual training. We are happy to do it, whether you're insured or not, because it's the last 3 years. So please, that's my ask. And I would end by commenting that insurance is very much like the stock market. We have good times, bad times, and all in between. We are in a cycle. We've had good auto loss years where we were really, frankly, undercharging for auto. The last 3 years have just developed badly. With that said, it's so just like you're dealing with the association finances, we're dealing with the same thing on the insurance side. AX Nova is very committed to the program. They like the program. I love the program. We all like it. We will get through this, but if you work with us, we can get you back on the road, keep you on the road, cut down your expenses, lost time, you name it, and make this a better, program. And again, I have to echo what you all do and your governance of this is what's making it a success. So those are my comments.
Any questions out there?
Just one comment, if I can, Lee.
Sure.
We've had a lot of discussion today about how we can help PCOC in new and in different ways. And you commented, on the line there where PCOC has presented $3,000 a month in regular support to PCOC. I don't know if folks know, but over the history of PCOC, all of the money that's been given to support PCOC, I believe, is over $1 million. So I would really encourage those who are on this meeting that may not be on the insurance program, please let this program come give you a quote. For a lot of years, I didn't, and then I did. The program's taken great care of me, saved me some money from where I was, and it's just one way where we can make a change today to support PCOC. So I really want to make the sincere request for anyone who's not on the program, just reach out to Lee. He'll connect you with the right people, and they'll give you a quote.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, I think a couple of years, like about 2 years ago, I think we did the numbers, and I think Paul found that I think it was like $2.4 million in contributions from the insurance program to the association over the longevity. So yeah, you're right. And this is our program, and it really does make sense that you would invest in it as well. Any other questions? Thank you very much. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate the report. So we're going to move into committee reports. Hopefully Tom is back on the call because I will turn it over to President-elect Tom Graston to call on his committees.
Hi, everybody. I'd like to call on Jackie Clark to talk in regards to the scholarship committee.
So I just wanted to go through the financials quickly. If you look at our statement of activities, you will see that our interest income was $503 for the current period, and we had a market value change of positive $15,731, giving us a total income over the current period of $16,234. So while we had lost quite a bit in our in all the stuff with COVID, in our investments, it is coming back, which is a really good sign. And so that's a good thing. If you look at our expenses, we had $602 in professional fees and $10,000 of scholarships awarded, giving us a net income of the current period of $5,632, leaving us year to date a negative $39,622. I wanted to just take a minute and announce the scholarships that we awarded this year. I know that typically we would do this in our banquet, but since we're not doing a banquet, I'm going to go ahead and do it now. All of the letters have gone out and the money has been sent to the recipients. So the top scholarship went out to Stephen Shork and $2,500. The next person was $1,500 scholarship went to Colton. I'm probably going to butcher this last name. I think it's Rasiopi or something like that. I'm sorry. And then the rest of the scholarships were all in the amount of $1,000, and they went to Audrey Barnhart, Aiden Davis, Brent Harris, William Kelly, Alexis Nosh, and Corbin Ziemke. And so those were the scholarship winners this year. Yesterday, we did have a committee meeting. We met with our new representative from UBS who handles all of our finance or all of our investments for us. He gave us a new proposal And we will be discussing kind of shifting some of our investments around to hopefully provide a little bit better stability for our investment, and hopefully be able to continue on our path of being able to continue to award the same or more scholarships than we've been able to do the last number of years. The next thing that I want to discuss was that the September board meeting, we're going to be having a cornhole and potentially dart tournament at the September board directors. It's going to be really fun. We're going to have an open bar like we did last time, play cornhole, maybe do some darts, and just have a really nice time. So in the next few weeks, we'll be sending out flyers for that, and requesting some sponsorships for board sponsors, as well as some food and beverage sponsors. So our board sponsors are going to be $100 for a board sponsor. And then if you would like to sponsor for food or drink, then that's going to be $500, which was the same that we did last year. If anybody wants to commit to doing that now, please feel free to just put it in the chat that you'd like to go ahead and sponsor a board. Again, this board sponsor is $100, and the food and drink sponsor is going to be $500. And then we are looking forward to some of our other activities as we look towards next year's Ledge Day. We're trying to, we're going to be organizing, hopefully, a riverboat casino thing. So that sounds, it's like something that we're really excited about. And so as we get closer to next year's Ledge Day, we're hoping to have more information for you guys about that. We're not going to be doing, that big raffle that we normally do every June. We're just going to kind of let that be for this year. That basically is scholarship. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Jackie.
No problem. And I do want to thank those of you who have already committed to being board sponsors. I really appreciate it.
Is Nicole Keefe still on? No, just kidding. He's right beside me. Membership, Nicole Keefe.
All right. Hi, everybody. Hope you can hear and see us okay. Nice to see all of you, if not in person, but soon enough, I hope. Hope you're all faring well through all this craziness. We met yesterday for membership. Was it yesterday? When was it? Monday. Monday for membership. All the days blend anymore. There are 104 new members, 1920, 15 already for 2021. Karen is working on a reduced schedule. She's working 3 days a week to help accommodate some budget restrictions. And she's pretty flooded right now with renewals. So while she is still working on new member outreach, it's a little bit slower and a little bit more difficult to get it all done. So we talked a lot about ways to help support her in still being as effective. And one of those is that Tom discussed that he will be appointing Northern and Southern member advocates to help support her efforts, which will be really helpful in our districts to have somebody who is volunteering to help support her efforts. Really looking forward to that being helpful. And to support that person, we talked about coming up with, by district, kind of a strategic target list, being a little bit more strategic with our time and efforts, really talking to district chairs about who in their area they really want us to target to bring on board as members. So instead of hitting with the shotgun, we're going to try and go in with a rifle and be a little more succinct in how we do this, and help better direct those advocates in helping. So we're hoping that'll be effective and have a better return rate on our efforts. We talked about possibly, for those that are unpaid for 1920, possibly just to help ease the renewal for 2021, looking at waiving 1920 and just getting them back in. That was agreed as a pretty good idea. We, at our last meeting, had talked about putting up membership signs at the distributors' locations in their offices with pamphlets to help drive those in-person contacts. It's so hard to see people anymore that we wanted to put up some posters, talked about the benefits of membership with some pamphlets about how they can become a member and tackle all those people that are still having to go in and get chemical and things and equipment. So thought that was a good spot. Those are all ready to go and will be up in all the locations by the end of the month. We also talked about just having touch points because people feel so disconnected these days. One of the biggest benefits of being a member is just being able to work with your peers, talk to your peers, have those casual, conversations while you help support each other and what you're going through these days. And we think that's missing for a lot of us. So we talked about maybe setting up some virtual happy hours, for lack of a better word, where we just get together, we chat, we talk, whatever you bring, you just get to see some friendly faces from the industry, bounce some of your ideas off people, just feel that camaraderie that we're all missing. So we thought about doing that. And then Tom talked about adding in something that I did when I was on the board at NPMA, which is having board calls to all new members where they call them, go over all of the features and benefits of membership, welcome them personally, kind of give them a personal touch of someone that they can meet when they are on site for the first time or who they can reach out to, which leads us all through this, how do we connect with people in a disconnected time? And we talked about really focusing efforts on getting Mentor Match going, offering mentoring, not just to new members, but to all members, but particularly to new members as a benefit to joining, where they get that connection with a peer or two in the industry. It's a process you go through that we can definitely get the outline from how National does it, but you fill out a questionnaire about who you are, how your business runs, some of your biggest challenges, and you're paired with one of the many great mentors that are already in our association that fit that profile well. And now you have someone that you can connect with and bounce things off of. And I think, again, in these times, I think that's going to be a crucial offering. So we were going to double down on our efforts to make that happen. So that's kind of what happened in membership, Tom, if you're still there.
Thank you, Nicole. Nice, yeah, thank you, Nicole. Did the fumigation committee meet? Is Heidi on? Heidi Alvarez?
Hey, Tom. This is John Sansone. Heidi
John.
wasn't able to make it. And so she asked me to cover what they had gone over. We were made aware through our fume enforcement meeting that the board has been working on 1970.4, the occupant's fumigation notice. And we were able to get the document, which is a draft. And so after we looked at the draft, we had some real concerns about what the subcommittee had done for the board. We really believe that 1974.4 just needs tweaking. However, they have turned the form from a one-page form into a two-page form, and it makes it much more difficult, much more cumbersome for the consumer without really adding any consumer protection. They've added additional check boxes that would need to be checked by the occupant owner. And we're already having difficulty getting the connecting structure checkbox checked now, but they've added about 5 more check boxes. And we feel that the consumers are going to be fearful to be checking those boxes as they are now with the existing form. So we really are going to try to weigh in with the board. The structural board will be having a webinar in regard to this form for branch 2s and branch 3s. That webinar is going to be on June 30th. For fumigation, there's a separate subcommittee on the fumigation side that is going to be held on July 1. We really need to weigh in, take a look at what they're doing. We have some very specific recommendations. We basically want to kind of restart over. We'll see how successful we can be with that. So that really takes care of the subcommittee. So let's go ahead and put this on. Nobody wants to see me, but it might make it a little bit easier. We had our enforcement committee meeting, which we're dealing with third quarter, January, February, and March. Inspections for most of the committees, because COVID only impacted the last 15 days of that quarter, most of the counties continued with their inspections. However, next quarter, report is going to show a huge downturn in volume of inspections and likely violations. LA County inspected at a 6% rate, 21,000 year to date, $170,000. they wrote 21 violations. LA County has been very, very aggressive. Their inspectors have been very difficult to deal with. Orange County, inspection rate of 4.8%. Year to date, 11,000 fumigations, $80,000. San Diego County, which is the second largest, has an inspection rate of 2.7, 13,000 fumigations, $102,000. They wrote 3 violations. The real problem in San Diego is those violations, there was no proposed action. They were only given warnings. Santa Clara County, 4%, 4,500 fumes, $35,000 year to date. They wrote 2 violations. Again, no proposed action. In fact, they gave us, we asked questions about a food bagging violations in Santa Clara, and the licensee said, "Oh, I forgot to bag the food." And so that was accepted, and so they did not give them any proposed action, just a warning. In LA County, the same violation garnered an $800 fine. So we have quite a discrepancy on some of these violations. As far as the Structural Pest Control Board report, we've covered all of those items, and I want to go directly to the report on the sulfuryl fluoride reevaluation. Chris has touched on that a little bit. We're still planning to do a field day for Karen Morrison, who is the technical risk manager, and other key personnel involved on the modeling for sulfuryl fluoride. We are expecting the addendum to the risk characterization document to be finalized in June. It will likely come out with 3 endpoints: 0.12 parts per million, 0.41 part per million, and then 3.26, which is the PBPK modeling work that was done by Douglas Products. We already know that we cannot live with 0.12 or 0.41, which is the current level, which is a 3x safety factor. With that being said, we are not going to be able to modify the addendum. However, risk mitigation will be the next step, and that's where industry will attempt to work with the risk managers to determine what will be necessary to change. I think this is going to be a difficult process. The mitigation that is being considered would completely alter the face of the fumigation industry. As part of the process for CAP, we went from 1 day out to 2 days out. This may increase from 2 days out to 3 days out. It'll alter potentially the tarps that we may use. Overall, it will make the process much more cumbersome and difficult, and it will be very hard for our fumigators to continue with production fumigation. That being said, we've been assured that we will be part of the process and have input into the mitigation. So that's going to complete my report. If there's any questions, I'll go on mute here.
John, what kind of timeline are we looking at for these risk mitigation measures to be organized or established?
That's a good question, Greg. The addendum and the mitigation should be finalized by the end of the year. However, it appears that they may want to go for a label change. And so if they go for a label change, that's going to take probably an additional year at least. So the good news is while, we can operate as normal probably before those would take effect. So we're looking at probably 2022 maybe before we would see most of these changes.
A label change, does that involve the EPA, or this would be some sort of California label?
Well, they likely would have to go to EPA to try to change that. And of course, there's also a state registration as well. Most of the cap changes for workers, they did that through regulation. So we're kind of surprised that they would be utilizing that format. Again, it's all open. We have not been able to meet or have any discussion with the risk managers. And I know that there'll be opportunities in the future to ask those questions.
Hey, John, this is Chris. Just to, Greg, to answer your question, any label change has to be done at the federal level. Normally there's a discussion, negotiation with DPR between our friends at EPA and DPR to sort of figure out what that label would look like. And if in fact it was a agreeable label change. But let me just say this, historically over the last 10 years, because California has a yacht, and it wouldn't surprise anyone on this call or on this video, has unique California only labels. And I think our friends at the federal level don't like that anymore. So I think if we get down to the discussion about a label, I think that's beneficial to us. And also I'd just say to John, and let me reiterate, we're not dealing, he's right. We're looking at the end of the year, at minimal on the risk management decision, depending on what COVID looks like, because I'm told I talked to the director a couple of days ago, they can't travel, there's restrictions on everything. If they have to go into, if this gets worse, because of budget restrictions, you're gonna have potential furloughs at the department. So there's a lot of stuff going on that potentially could alter all this.
Thank you.
Is there any more questions? Thank you, John. And thanks for actually both reports. I'd like to turn the meeting over to Dean Wiley.
Thank you, Tom. I'd like to call on our General Pest Committee Chair, Mr. Chantal.
Good morning, everybody. General Pest Committee met Tuesday morning, very well attended as usual. So thank you to all of you that made the time to get on that call. We started with an update by Jim Steed. He talked a little bit about the bill that we've been fighting has been pushed to next year. There's a lot of, as you guys all know, everything has been just put on pause and delayed, anything that's moving through the Capitol. Because of that, we don't expect any activity this year. And consequently, we have no idea what to expect for next year. He did share, though, that we're prepared to continue engaging Bloom's bill, but in our favor, we feel like the public health argument has never been stronger. He did talk a little bit about budget cuts impacting Department of Pesticide Regulation, how those could cut both ways. On one hand, we have the potential to lose some folks that have been friendly to our industry, and we also may lose dollars dedicated to enforcement through the local ag departments. Darren then gave us an update. He gave us some updates on PPE and how they continue to be harder to procure, some of the things that they are working on as far as trying to get the KN95 approved. He touched a little bit about the board and the work going on for electronic communication for customers. John Sansone talked about that a little bit. Upcoming meeting regarding that, so maybe we can make some headway and some progress in the near future on that. He did talk about testing being open. However, due to COVID restrictions, PSI is operating at an estimated like 50% capacity. So recommendation would be for all of us in the industry is get those tests scheduled as soon as you possibly can and do not wait, because you're going to kind of be handicapped just by the nature of the restrictions they're working under. Sylvia wrapped up our meeting with an update, brief update on West Coast Rodent Academy. Raised just under $16,000 for research. Another great event. Tentative dates for the fall again are 9th, 10th, and 11th. Of course, none of us know what the future holds as far as being able to run that type of a training class. So we will see. She expects to have more information at our September meeting. The last thing she did remind us all, as far as DPR hours, because we're limited on being able to meet and get some of these in-person hours, DPR hours can be hard to come by. So if you're renewing at the end of the year, please plan ahead and get on that. That would conclude my report for the General Pest Committee.
Thank you, Chance. There will be no Rodenticide Task Force update. And now I'll call on Mary Hernandez for the Professional Women Pest Management.
Hello again. So we had a good meeting on Monday. And one of the biggest points to bring up would be the Women of Excellence winner that we were supposed to do at our legislative breakfast, but due to circumstances, we were not doing that. So we're going to host a cocktail hour at our September meeting and announce our winner at that meeting, at that event. So everyone is welcome for that. We have some items that are for sale, that pins that we've produced, and some super sacks and some different shirts and stuff that we still have. So we were going to do a little online store, so be looking for that if you're interested in something. And as Professional Women in Pest Management, our chapter, we want to be able to do something to give back to PCOC. So we have organized, we will be organizing a Zoom conference. We're going to open it up nationally to anybody to attend. Some of our topics are going to be emotional health, women in business, how to run a Zoom meeting, seems to be the norm these days, and social media, how to handle social media aspects. So we'll be looking for that in the near future. All funds raised from that will be going directly back to our PCOC organization. And I think that's it. So we look forward to seeing everybody in September prayerfully. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mary. No. Any questions for Mary? Okay, thanks, Mary. I'd like to hand over the meeting to our affiliate representative, Ms. Sylvia Kinmere. Are you there, Sylvia? I know she's having internet trouble. Maybe I'll just run through hers then real quick. She didn't have a West Coast Rodent Academy. That was gone over by chance. Public Relations Committee, Chaz Estrada.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Oh, actually, I think I'm still muted. Unmuted. There we go. Super quick update. Really exciting stuff. Our social media pages are doing all right. Our LinkedIn page is up to 330 followers. Instagram is up to 316. Facebook is up to 734. So I'm actually pretty proud of that one. And then our YouTube is actually, it's really hard to get subscribers on YouTube. And we're just under 100 at 91 subscribers. So actually pretty proud of that. If at this point you still haven't followed these pages, shame on you. We want to start doing a little bit more in terms of actual PR. And initially, when I'd taken this position, I kind of just took it all on my own, and I was like, oh, I can do this, and it became kind of overwhelming. And so now we've decided to kind of chunk up the elephant so we could start to take small bites. So Foster and I and a few others have committed to putting together like a 30-second video that kind of describes what PCOC is. And all of this obviously is going to be run by the executive committee before any of it is published. But kind of exciting that we've finally got some moves in the right direction, I suppose. We're also going to be committing to like a sort of like a creature feature, I guess, like a two posts a month. Right now we have Adam Holt. He's going to be doing a post on swallow bugs, and then Natalie King has agreed to help write one up on Formosan termites that were found. I forget where it was at. It was near Lake Elsinore somewhere. And then so probably 2 of those a month, and it's not a ton, but some of these posts and managing these different platforms are actually pretty time consuming. And then it was also brought up that our social media platforms aren't on our website. So we're working with Sarah to get those on there as well. I'd love to hear your guys' input, offline, if you guys have anything you would like to see in our social media posts. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chaz. And I'd like to call on our affiliate committee chair, Mr. Doug Bell.
Thank you, sir. We met on Monday afternoon. I think we had about 15 or 16 people at our, well, not at, but on our Zoom call. We started out by kind of talking what we were all doing this year in regards to that, in particular, how we were communicating with PCOC members and our customers. So we kind of shared some best practices about communication. I think Mike McKenzie said it earlier, kind of learning as we go. So as affiliates and vendors, we are definitely trying to take make as much out of these opportunities that we can, but we are learning as we go. We got some best practices though, some Kahoot options, some different ways to document and do the polling and things like that that we shared amongst our affiliate members to kind of better serve the customers moving forward this year and kind of this time of uncertainty. We talked about some of the cancellations and how that was affecting everybody with Ledge Day and Expo being canceled. It also kind of came up that a lot of the district meetings were being canceled, and so we were trying to participate. I know some of the districts have begun doing Zoom calls for their district meetings. And so however those district chairs or whoever's in charge of promoting those meetings, if you could let Sarah know, she's going to be able to put those in the newsletter so she can send those out to us. A lot of the companies aren't able to travel yet, but we do want to participate. We do want to support. We want to be part of the conversation and the dialogue. So please update Sarah when you're having those Zoom calls, because we want to be a part of that and keep in touch with everybody. We talked about Paso Robles and the changes there from Thursday to Saturday to Wednesday to Friday. We talked about the opportunity of maybe on that second day doing a little mini expo. So the affiliates that were on the call were open to that. We want to learn more about that, how we can help, how we can be able to showcase our products and our people at that event. It looks like it could be kind of lunchtime on that second day with some lunch stations and some tables and booths so people can kind of wind through and not be all congregating in one area. So we understand there's going to be some workarounds. We're happy to work with PCOC in the planning of that event, so keep us in the loop. We moved on to talk about the virtual CE classes. Thank you, Sylvia, for kind of spearheading that event. For Douglas, we had ours on Tuesday afternoon with Dr. Lewis, and I think we had 26 people attend. Of course, Dr. Lewis did a fantastic job. As always, he even incorporated some of his props into the Zoom call, which was kind of interesting. So, we were happy to sponsor that and be part of that. I know they had a couple more yesterday and then also on the 29th and 30th. So I want to thank the affiliates for sponsoring those. And also Foster has been doing a great job, Pest Posse, for kind of making that go as smooth as possible. And of course, the affiliates said they were open to future opportunities to sponsor those or to actually do trainings with their reps. So we were open to that. I know when I was on the Big Valley call, Tom had mentioned a possible affiliate golf tournament, and there was interest in that for a Northern California venue and a Southern California venue. We've got a couple different ideas. The uncertainty is kind of what we circled back around to. Are people going to want to be out there? Are people going to be wanting to sit in carts? Will they have push carts? Will we be able to walk around 18 holes not on a cart? We had ideas, Tom, so get with us. moving forward, there's interest there. And we have some ideas on even making it like a kind of quirky where we do like those four club tournament, make it more fun, have closest to the pin things like that and different sponsorships. So we're open to that. The old business, there wasn't much to talk about. We circled back to the district meetings and how we wanted to continue to be a part of that. New business was that Chaz is going to be taking over this committee. I don't know, Chaz, if you're going to be able to do 2 committees, but good luck with that. And thanks for doing a great job on PR, and good luck with affiliate committee. We touched base for a few minutes to kind of make that transition. And speaking of transitions, so this will be my last board of directors. I am actually moving on, relocating to Denver, Colorado with my family. And so, just wanted to take this time to say thank you to PCOC and everybody. I'm gonna miss you. I know in the pest control business, it's kind of, we'll see each other sooner than later. So that's what I'm banking on. But just wanted to say thank you to everybody for your friendships and your support. And I'm sure we'll be having a cold beer at some time sooner than later. So good luck to Chaz taking over the committee. And that's all I have to report on. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. You'll be missed. We appreciate all the everything you've given to PCOC and your dedication to us, and you'll be missed. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to.
Doug, make sure you swing by and see us in our Denver branch when you get relocated, okay?
Guaranteed, sir. You got it.
All right. Take care. Sorry to interrupt.
All right. I'd like to turn the meeting over now to Mr. Greg Augustine, your second vice president.
Okay. First up is the termite committee, and I've been told that there is nothing to report. Is that correct, Garrett? Are you on the line, Garrett? Okay.
That's correct, Greg.
Okay, we'll go with that. Nothing to report. The Constitution and Bylaws Committee, I call up Lauren Thrasher. Lauren, do you have any report for the Constitution and Bylaws Committee? Apparently not. Do you have something to report, Mr. Reardon?
I do. I just want to make folks, we actually do have a draft bylaw changes. I actually talked to the committee yesterday, our executive committee. There might be, because of some, there might be a membership issue that we might want to draft. And so we might want to amend that language. And so I've held off too the last couple of months because, as you know, they charge us to put these together. And so we've sort of put it on hold, but we're pretty close. And we expect a membership amendment too, Greg. So that's kind of where we are.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. And I did see on the chat stream that Lauren's struggling with technology. So Lauren, if you get it working, we'll be happy to interrupt wherever we happen to be if you have something to add. Thank you, Lauren. All right, next, I would like to bring up Jim Steed with the Advisory and Nominations Committee. Mr. Steed.
Greetings. As you know, the year is up and our election has been had, and I will have a report for you on the elections in our annual meeting, which will follow directly after the Board of Directors.
Thank you, Jim. Okay, next, I would like to call up our third vice president, Mary Hernandez. Mary?
Hello, everybody, again. Dean Wiley with PCOC Cares. Do you have anything to report?
Yes, I do, Mary. Thank you. So if you can see my screen, just in case you guys don't know, we're still having the raffle. It'll be at the end of my report. So you have time to get in and get more tickets. You can either go up on the chat here and say how many that you want, and Leslie will take that number down and your name, put you into the hat, and then we'll bill you later through PCOC. So anybody else wants more CARES tickets, please indicate now, and then I'll go over our financials. Our current assets are $31,851, and that's in our Wells Fargo checking account. Our net income for liability and equities, our net income was -$2,658. And so that leaves our total liability at total liability and equity at 31,851. To date, current period for expenses, or I'm sorry, for income, donations for this current period, 0. Year to date, 6,200. And the raffle, 0. Golf, 0. Raffle, though, we had $3,861.66 in the raffle. Our expenses year to date were 2,200. I'm sorry, 12,720, and that leaves us a net income loss of 2,658. And that, in our meeting, we discussed fundraising. This will be my last year as chair, so we tried to set it up so that the next person coming in will have kind of some traction going. We had some talk in regards to, and what came up, I think the frustrating part with CARES is we still have people coming to us saying, I didn't even know what CARES was. And in fact, I think Leslie, or maybe it was Sarah, who said that they went online and saw these CARES tickets and they purchased some, but then they also said they never even heard of CARES. So one of the difficult things really is that we don't have anybody, the word isn't getting out basically. So we decided to possibly seat somebody in each district and designate them to talk about CARES and maybe also scholarship. I know as a chair, when I was running the Orange County district, you got so many things going on, and we typically hand these raffle tickets or whatever fundraiser we have to the chair, ask him to bring it to their district, and we forget because we have so many things going on. So we thought it might be a great idea to insert somebody into each district to be able to talk about scholarship and talk about CARES, just them, that's their job, and maybe get it done a little bit better. So right now I'm kind of asking if you guys feel led that this is something you would like to do for your district, pop your name up in the chat. I'll have Sarah or maybe Karen there, who's taking the minutes, write who you are, and then we can maybe get that going right away. Some of the other things we talked about were we talked about pens. We talked about buttons with the Shorks last time when we met in December. We also talked about another nicer pen, almost like the Women in Pest Management have. And I don't know if you can see Leslie's screen, but I believe in the background she's got the new CARES logo that Sarah kind of came up with, which we really like. So maybe the pen would look like that. And then on our renewals every year, and we're talking about dues and renewals, the Club 99, we thought about having them put a box on there to where they would also check for a donation, like bill me for, this much on my dues. And with they haven't been able to do that yet, but with the new invoicing system, Sarah said they could be able to get that up and running. So hopefully by the next, renewal period, we can get that box on the bill so that you guys are able to check that and also donate to CARES that way as well. With that being said, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Dean. Leadership Academy with Sue Freeze and Mike McKenzie. Do either of you have anything to talk about?
Yeah, I'll just bring up one thing real quick. So we have not, obviously we were not able to meet this year live, but we are considering putting on in short order here a virtual experience for the new district chairs. So more to follow on that and more time. And it would probably be like a half to 3/4 day event, a virtual experience. So that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Mike. Legislative Committee, Darren Van Steenwyk. Do you have anything? Are you on? Chris, do you have anything?
Yeah, what I would say is that it's sort of status quo related to AB 1788. As you heard me mention in my report to the association, that the bill now is where it was the last time we talked, which is in Senate Appropriations. We don't expect it to get out this year because it's not because of the budget challenge and COVID. So, but as I mentioned to everybody, this doesn't mean it's going away, but we don't anticipate it getting out of Senate Appropriations this year.
Any questions? Thanks, Chris. PAPCO committee, Jim Steed, do you have something?
Yes, I do. Thank you. If you could turn, I was trying to figure out what color this is, and I think I've got it, to the color of bad spray tan. You'll see the PAPCO financials. And you'll also note that there's about a $2,000 difference from the last quarter. And those are some accounting fees that we've paid. And as I reported last quarter, we are essentially on hold, just like the Capitol's on hold. And the way we are determining whether or not we're making donations or not is following the counsel of Dominic Damari. So I've been able to communicate with a little bit with him even as recently as today. And I can confirm what Chris said about Bloom's bill. I asked him, is there any chance of it getting out? We went from 90% no to pretty much 99% no. This is a year where things that are 1% possible happen. So, just remember that. But if it does not come out this year, it will have to be completely reintroduced and start over in the assembly and go through the entire path that it had followed this current year. We will also have to reintroduce our bill. That we introduced a competing bill to try and drive the conversation towards more sensible and rational improvements. And so we're prepared to do both of those things. I'm hopeful that as we're able to figure out our financial reality and future, that will coincide with Dominic calling and saying it's time to turn the PAPCO spigot back on. So for now, we are alive and we have a pulse, but we're on hold, and I expect that will probably last through the next election cycle. So that concludes my report, unless anyone has any questions.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Now
Hey,
I'd like to
Jim, are we still doing the 99 Club, though?
Yeah, Club 99 comes as a part of an opportunity as a part of your registration. And at any moment, if you feel inclined, you can make a donation to Club 99. And we have still got a significant amount of our dues that we have voted to allocate towards PAPCO. And we're just kind of in a stasis mode with all of that until we really know what Dominic's going to recommend for us to, okay, we can get going now, the Capitol's back to normal. The good news about this is the legislature's never been more effective in our behalf than they have this year, which means they've done nothing. So it kind of cuts both ways. I'm glad that we're able to kind of take a little bit of a break and maybe let PAPCO build up and recover a little bit. But I wouldn't be surprised to have him call and tell us it's game on again pretty soon. So in the meantime, please continue to make your Club 99 donations and support the golf tournaments when they happen. And please make sure that you also pay your membership fees. All of those things support PAPCO.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim. Now I'd like to turn it over to our secretary, Dave Watkins.
Well, it's officially afternoon, everybody, so good afternoon. I'd like to call our Safety Committee Chair, Eric Paulson. Eric?
Thank you, Dave. Couple things. We met on Tuesday, and just a couple of us were there. Thank you, Dean and Robert, for being there. We talked about the issues with respirators and kind of the difference between the position that the Department of Pesticide Regulation is taking on the issue as opposed to the Fed EPA that's, or actually Fed OSHA that's given us some guidance to be able to use some non-NIOSH approved respirators. Talk about that issues and some of the ways to deal with that and handle that. Talk about some of the other broader PPE issues and safety issues with companies jumping in doing sanitation services. Some of the products are relatively benign. Some of the products are kind of hot. Some additional things we have to address. And then we can introduce something we've been trying to put together for a little while is pestmanagementsafety.com. It's just kind of a place to put the resources that the committee is put together each year. Most of the stuff that the committee's done the last 2 years is up there. There's one or two things I've got to dig and put up there. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, you heard both Lee and Paul talk about some of the issues with the insurance program and with fleet safety, and really cannot stress the fleet safety enough. About 3 years ago, I went to a national fleet safety conference put on by insurance carriers. They're looking at their losses and so forth. And essentially, auto has been a losing proposition for insurance carriers from about 2011, 2012 on. And it's really been a challenge for the whole industry, with the big issues being distractions and following distance. And it's just gotten worse the last 3 years. We've been very fortunate within the PCOC insurance program that our auto numbers have dramatically, until very recently, beaten the general market as far as what our loss ratios were and how our claims were developing. But we've been watching it and been very concerned about it. And unfortunately, as you heard earlier today, those numbers are developing. We're seeing higher frequency, and we're seeing some of these claims develop and become larger than we've seen in the past. So even if you're a company, you may say, well, I'm not having any losses here. I need to recognize that it's going to hit you. So you want to be proactive and start taking steps now to address fleet safety, as opposed to waiting until you start seeing those claims. So that's what I've got, unless anyone has any questions for me.
Thank you, Eric. And there will be no historical committee report, so I'll turn the meeting back over to Mike.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for the committee reports. We're moving into unfinished business. Does anybody have unfinished business they would like to discuss? I didn't think we would. So with that, Karen, if you could please review our few motions.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so the first motion was to pass the minutes from the April 2020 meeting. First by Larry Trelevin, second by Ray Carrier, motion carried. And the second one was to pass the 2020-2021 budget. First by Mike Bullert, second by Larry Trelevin, motion carried. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. So just before I adjourn this meeting, I want to make everybody aware, please stay on the call, as our annual meeting will be immediately following this. But with that said, I want to take a moment and to personally thank our committee chairs and our district chairs. I appreciate all of your dedication to this association and to all of your peers. I also want to thank the PCOC staff, Janai, Karen, Sarah, and Chris. Really, guys, thank you for all of your support that you've provided me and this association in the past 12 months. I have not been easy to deal with, and I know that, so thank you. Our executive committee, Sylvia, Dave, Mary, Greg, Dean, and of course, Tom Graston. Thank you, guys. I really mean, our journey together over the past several years is one that I will cherish. The poise, grace, and vulnerability that each of you has displayed is something I will not soon forget. With this group of leaders, our association is in great hands and will be strong for years to come. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank all of the members and the affiliates for all of the support that you've put out for us in the past 12 months and over the years. Without you, we don't have an association, and I am very proud to be a member of PCOC. Again, I want to thank everybody on the call for the opportunity to serve and to be the president. Thank you. So with that, I'd like to have somebody make a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I saw David Oxley raise his hand first, so I'll call David Oxley with the motion to adjourn, and the second?
I'll second that.
Mary Hernandez. I won't even ask for the question, but other than all in favor, signify by thumbs up or saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Awesome. Thank you.
Aye.
All right. So with that, I would like to call our next meeting to order, which is our our annual membership meeting. Sorry, I've got to get through the piece here. So I'll call this meeting to order. And specifically, this meeting is going to be about elections. But before we move into elections with Jim Steed, we stepped a little bit outside of what the bylaws state. And that being, and what I mean by that is in Article 12, Section 2, it states the election shall be by ballot of choice or by means approved by 2/3 majority of the vote of the board of directors with written notice mailed to the members of this association. So just to stay right between the lines as best we can, I would like to receive a motion to accept the voting as completed virtually. Is there anybody that would entertain giving that motion?
I will give that motion, that we entertain it.
To accept, yeah, to accept the voting as completed.
Yes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
Travis Mickel, thank you. And so with that, is there any comments or questions regarding accepting the voting as completed? All right, so let's take a vote. All in favor of accepting the voting as completed signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed signify by saying nay. Awesome. Ooh, there was a couple of thumbs up on the nays. Or no, those were left over. Okay. So with that, I will turn the meeting over to Jim Steed for our elections.
Good afternoon. I am happy to announce the results of our election. As our president-elect, Dean Wiley, our treasurer, Greg Augustine, second vice president, Mary Hernandez, third vice president, Dave Watkins, and our affiliate representative, Chaz Estrada. As CARES trustees, Alan Kennedy and Leslie Newlick. As scholarship trustees, Jackie Clark and Travis Mickel. And as PAPCO trustees, Fred Rozo and Lawrence Short. In the PCOC committee, Mike Bullert, Jim Shockey, and Lauren Thrasher. We had 133 members participate in the voting, and I'm happy to certify that all these folks are ready to serve. They're all yours, Mike.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. What a great turnout for voting. That's actually a lot higher than we typically have. So thank you for doing that, Jim. So at this point, I will officially ask if somebody will make a motion to adjourn our annual membership meeting. All right, David Oxley, once again, I saw your hand up. Second, Mary Hernandez, I saw that. All right. All in favor for adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 All right. All opposed signify by saying nay. Hearing none, the motion carries. Please stay on. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Mike Bullert for the swearing in of Tom Graston, our new president.
And also stick around for the raffle.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is my distinct honor to introduce our new president today. It is said that character and leadership are traits that are revealed in the face of adversity. We are certainly in a time of adversity, but this is not the first time, nor will it be the last. When Tom agreed to join our executive committee in 2016, little did he know of the significant transition that we were currently under. Immediately, Tom went to work as head of our PCOC building committee. Tom spent countless hours coordinating donations, volunteers, and oversaw an extensive repair and updating of our PCOC office. Now we have a building that you can all be proud of. Among other things that he helped us during that time of transition. Of course, I've known Tom long before that. I met Tom over 20 years ago when we worked for the same company together. Tom has always impressed me with his positive attitude, his creativity, his energy, his desire to serve others, And today is my honor to swear in Tom as your new PCOC president. Tom, please step forward, raise your right hand. Come closer. Do you, Tom Graston, promise to protect and defend the Constitution and bylaws of the Pest Control Operators of California and faithfully execute the duties of office of PCOC president to the best of your abilities?
I do.
And by the authority vested in me as past president of the Pest Control Operators of California, I hereby install you as president. Congratulations.
Yay!
You want to see what's behind me?
The family.
I'm trying to avoid the camera. Thank you, everybody. At this time, I'd like to call Chaz Estrada. Chaz, are you on?
I'm still muted. Sorry, I got the quarantine haircut going. I'm trying to fix my hair so I look presentable.
Nice. Raise your right hand, sir. Do you, Chaz Estrada, promise to protect and defend the Constitution and bylaws of the Pest Control Operators of California and faithfully execute the duties of the office of affiliate to the best of your ability?
I do.
And by the authority vested in me as president of the Pest Control Operators of California, I hereby install you as their affiliate representative. Congratulations, Chaz.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
The next person who's actually here, I'd like to call up Chance Howell. Step into the camera, Chance. Chance, raise your right hand. You, Chance Howell, promise to protect and defend the Constitution and the bylaws of the Pest Control Operators of California and faithfully execute the duties of the office of Secretary to the best of your ability. I do. And by the authority vested in me as President of the Pest Control Operators of California, I hereby install you as Secretary. Congratulations. I'd like to call up Dave Watkins.
Hello.
Hey, Dave.
Hello.
You, Dave Watkins, promise to protect and defend the Constitution and bylaws of the Pest Control Operators of California and faithfully execute the duties of the office of Third Vice President to the best of your ability?
I do.
And by the authority vested in me as President of the Pest Control Operators of California, I hereby install you as Third Vice President. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd like to call up Mary Hernandez.
I'm here.
There you are, Mary. Raise your right hand. Mary, do you, Mary Hernandez, promise to protect and defend the Constitution and bylaws of the Pest Control Operators of California and faithfully execute the duties of the office of Second Vice President to the best of your ability?
I do.
And by the authority vested in me as President of the Pest Control Operators of California, I hereby install you as Second Vice President. Congratulations, Mary. Greg Augustine. Don't be shy, Greg. You notice nobody rushes to the podium to be installed as treasurer.
Okay, here we go.
There you are. Raise your right hand, Greg. Do you, Greg Augustine, promise to protect and defend the Constitution and bylaws of the Pest Control Operators of California and faithfully execute the duties of the office of treasurer to the best of your ability?
I do, yes.
And by the authority vested in me as President of the Pest Control Operators of California, hereby install you as treasurer. Congratulations, Greg.
Thank you.
And last but definitely not least, that's the tongue twister, sorry. Dean Wiley.
I'm here.
Hey, Dean. And you got your wife right behind you.
Is she twisting your arm right behind you?
Yes, yes.
Do you, Dean Wiley, promise to protect and defend the Constitution and bylaws of the pest control operators of California and faithfully execute the duties of the office of President-elect to the best of your ability?
I do.
And by the authority vested in me as President of the Pest Control Operators of California, I hereby install you as President-elect. Congratulations, Dean. Switch over this way now a little bit. First of all, I want to thank Mike McKenzie. Mike, thank you for a great year. Thank you for your support over the year. I learned a lot from you. You really handed over a deck of cards that it was a little tough deal halfway through your term, but you did really well with it, and you represented us really well. If I was to pick a perfect time to become president of PCOC, I may have not chosen this year. But maybe this year was picked me. I am following several aggressive presidents who have worked hard to further develop and grow our association, increasing the value of our events as well as increasing the focus of education and training to meet the needs of our industry. These changes took time and pulled talent from all over the state within our membership. It's easy to say that each one stood strong and followed their gut feeling to impact change to an association that has served us all so well. My focus will be a year of refinement, and with the world pandemic restricting our activities, this couldn't be a better time. Let's control our spending and better negotiate our expenses. Let's continue to promote education and training sessions, even if it's on Zoom. Let's participate in every opportunity we have. My intent was to take this year and build on the foundation that has been already created by my predecessors, but COVID-19 dictated a slightly different twist. Being an essential industry has allowed us to continue our business through the pandemic, and we need to do everything we can to ensure our association has the same opportunity. This September, we are fired up with a well-deserved upgraded board of directors meeting at Alegreto Vineyard Resort in Paso Robles. We have upgraded our usual board of directors meeting to honor our affiliates with a trade show and to provide you with CEUs, what Chris Reardon likes to refer as a hybrid expo. Returning to normalcy as much as we can is much needed moving forward. Most of us, the major events and actual help outside the surrounding gardens. We are hoping to see you all there. At this time, I think I'd like to officially hit my gavel for the first time and end this meeting. Thank you, everybody. That's it.
I think we have a raffle.
Well, then I open it up again to the raffle.
Leslie, can you draw the name, please?
We have $5,360. That's
$1,000 is our price. The progressive is $1,000, correct?
correct, $1,000. And the winner is Tony Taylor from Rescom Pest Control. And
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Okay, cool.
Great job.
Bye-bye.
Everyone, please stay safe and healthy. And we hope to see everyone at the next Board of Directors meeting on September 16th to the 18th, 2020, at the beautiful Alegreto Vineyard Resort in Paso Robles, California.